Chapter 161. The next day, Chen Xingyao woke up. The moment he opened his eyes, he hugged his head and cried out in terror. Li Tsong grabbed young master's wrist and shouted, "Young master, it is me. You are okay, don't be afraid." He felt heart-pained when he saw that. In the past, the violent young master terrified him, but now he felt heart-pained. Maybe he had been tortured so much that it was a habit. Chen Xingyao panted. His eyes slowly regained focus. "I didn't die. Young master, you didn't die. You are alive and well." Li Tsong felt heart-pained. What kind of torture did young master go through to actually become so depressed, to not have any confidence at all? Chen Xingyao raised his head, and there were many familiar people in the room. Li Tsong, Manager Yu, Sect Leader Lin, and the others were all here. "I'm fine." Chen Xingyao felt like he had survived a calamity. He suddenly had respect for life. After walking on the edge of death, he had some comprehension. "You are fine for now," Lin Fan said. It was like a bucket of cold water splashing down on Chen Xingyao's head. It penetrated his heart and was really cold. Li Tsong and Manager Yu looked towards Sect Leader Lin. They thought that young master was fine, but who knew that Sect Leader Lin would actually say that young master was fine? That definitely wouldn't do. Nothing could happen to young master. "Sect Leader Lin, why would I be fine?" Chen Xingyao panicked. He really didn't want to die. He was rich and had a good life. Moreover, he was so young. If he really died just like that, he would be more wrong than anyone else. Lin Fan said solemnly, "The poisonous bug that he fed you is really troublesome. You were about to die from it, but I have a way to help you suppress it. I wanted to help you get rid of it, but I didn't expect it to be so troublesome. I can only help you suppress it, but I can't cure it." Chen Xingyao was filled with despair. He couldn't cure it and could only suppress it. That meant that there was a chance that it would explode in the future. "Sect Leader Lin, you have to save me." Chen Xingyao was about to cry. A young kid who wasn't even in his late years suffered such a huge disaster. His heart hurt. Li Tsong pounced beside young master's bed and cried, "My young master is such a good person. So why did he suffer like this? If possible, I am willing to help young master suffer." At this moment, Li Tsong also wanted to prove his loyalty in front of young master. "I'll let young master know that the one who truly cares about you is me, Li Tsong, silently accompanying you." Lin Fan said, "And actually this is a method. If we transfer the bug into someone else's body, it might work. But it's too dangerous. Maybe the bug will be alarmed and 2 people will die." Li Tsong was so frightened that he nearly knelt down and begged for mercy. "Big brother, I was just saying it casually to show my loyalty. You don't have to toy with me like this." However, when he heard the second half of the sentence, he felt relieved and let out a long sigh. Chen Xingyao was too lazy to deal with Li Kong. Now, he couldn't even protect himself. He was panicking, so how could he have the energy to deal with this guy? "Sect Leader Lin, are you confident in curing him?" This was what Chen Xingyao was most concerned about. As long as it could be cured, everything else was fine. He had personally experienced the horror of the venomous bugs when they acted up. It was truly tragic. His heart was terrified, and he was about to be scared to death. Lin Fan thought about it and said uncertainly, "It is hard to say. I need to slowly study it, but I need too many precious herbs. The cost is huge. Of course, this isn't a problem of money. It's just that I don't have much confidence, so I can only help you suppress it." When it came to the important part, money was the most important. "Sect Leader Lin, money is definitely not a problem. As long as you can cure me, I am willing to pay any amount." Chen Xingyao just wanted to live. Money was just an external thing. Moreover, he didn't have any descendants. If he really died, who would he leave the money to? "Okay, I will try my best," Lin Fan replied. "Remember, you need to head to Marshall Path Mountain every 3 days. Once I develop the medicine to suppress the venomous bugs, you don't need to run anymore. You can use it at home." And whatever Lin Fan said now, he would do it. Chen Xingyao trusted Lin Fan so much. After all, his life was in his hands, so he had to trust him. Then, Li Tsong and Manager Yu supported Chen Xingyao back to Jiang City to rest. Chen Xingyao would never forget what happened last night. Lin Fan looked on as they left, and a smile appeared on his face. What a good person. He had actually wiped out the venomous bugs in Chen Xingyao's body. Last night, it really exploded. If he didn't help, Chen Xingyao would definitely die. Who knew that the bug-controlling technique's gray internal strength could actually remove such a situation? It was really magical. Nine Bug Gang was a subsidiary power of Insect Valley. The bug-controlling technique that represented the highest combat strength of Insect Valley could naturally suppress everything. He was a person who was honest. Chen Manor gave him 20,000 silver to find Chen Xingyao. So naturally, he had to do it. Now that Chen Xingyao wanted to spend money to protect his life, he did it. This was honest money. He didn't steal or snatch. He didn't cheat or cheat. It was worth everyone to learn from him. Beneath Marshall Path Mountain, Manager Yu said, "Young master, do you think he purposely cheated Chen family of money?" It wasn't that Manager Yu didn't believe Lin Fan, but he didn't believe him at all. That fellow was someone who only cared about money. As long as he opened his mouth, he would be asking for too much. Normal people wouldn't be able to take tens of thousands of silver. Cheat? What is there to cheat? I am about to die. Even if I cheat, as long as I can keep my life, I can cheat as much as I want. Do you want me to die by saying all this? Chen Xingyao stared at him in rage. Rage rose up in his heart. He didn't care who cheated who, whether or not he cheated. As long as he could keep his life, it wasn't a problem. Manager Yu shivered in terror. He knelt on the ground and said with a trembling voice, "Young master, I didn't mean that." Li Tsong caressed young master's back and said softly, "Young master, don't be angry. He doesn't know how to speak. I will talk to him. Calm down, no matter what. It isn't as important as my young master." At least that's what a human should say. Chen Xingyao nodded his head and felt slightly happy. He looked at Li Tsong much more favorably. Marshall Path Mountain. Zhang Tianshan found Lin Fan and was worried. Sect leader, are the 9 Bug Gang people dead? He knew that 9 Bug Gang would definitely find Jiang City, but he didn't expect them to be so quick. From this, one could see how much importance 9 Bug Gang placed on the 9-headed bug. Maybe it wasn't just 9 Bug Gang's treasure. It might have been the treasure of Insect Valley. What he cared about now was whether or not those people were killed. If they weren't, then it would be a little problematic. They aren't dead, but it might be worse than death. They were captured by the Een demons. Lin Fan thought back to what happened last night and felt like he saw a familiar person. That person received all his love. Maybe he would transfer it to those 4 black-robed people. This, Zhang Tianshan was a little worried. If it didn't die, they would be a problem. Only by dying would they be truly safe. Of course, if they fell into the hands of the Een demons, they definitely wouldn't be able to live. However, if the Een demon's brain twitched, then it would be a little problematic. Lin Fan patted Zhang Tianshan's shoulder. "It is okay, don't worry." At that moment, his rage points jumped up and down. There would be 5 of them at once. That meant that there were 5 living beings who were furious. Maybe what happened to the 4 black-robed people made the big Een demon think back to what happened to him. Revenge breeds revenge. When would it end? He hoped that he could use their bodies to calm the rage in his heart. Afternoon, Manager Yu brought money over. Apart from the 20,000, there was an additional 30,000, a total of 50,000. To other people, this amount was a lot. But to Lin Fan, it was far from enough. Lin Fan wanted to take the money over, but Manager Yu's hand grabbed onto it. His face was a little conflicted. Young master didn't understand, but he felt like he was extorting them, extorting their Chun family. Let go. This money should be used where it counts. If you don't believe me, you can send it back to your young master. Just say that I am helpless. Lin Fan said. Manager Yu sighed and slowly released his fingers. Lin Fan stuffed the money into his chest. I hope that you can keep your word. Manager Yu said. Although he wasn't willing, he had no choice. He could only rely on sect leader Lin to save young master. If he went to other places to seek help from those sects, not only would they not have enough time, even if they did, Chun family would be swallowed up by those sections. Moreover, he sent himself over. Lin Fan looked at Manager Yu who left and suddenly said, 30,000 isn't enough. Remember to send some over. Damn. Manager Yu nodded his head. He cursed in his heart. What a bandit. He was even more terrifying than a bandit. Wolf Brigade Forest. 4 black-robed men were tied on the cross. The small Een demon couldn't help but want to eat these humans. However, the big Een demon warned them not to touch the prey he was taking revenge on. Naturally, no small Een demon dared to move. He is dead. It is good that he is dead. He is free. The other 3 black-robed men looked at their heavily injured comrades. After being tortured by the big Een demon, they couldn't take it anymore and died. They weren't too sad. They just felt sad. Dying in a mission was an honor. But now, they were suffering inhumane torture, which was a humiliation to them. I will release you. Think of a way to return to the gang. One of the black-robed men said. Now that the big Een demon wasn't here, the other Een demons were all asleep. If they wanted to leave, they could only use this chance. If not, if they went through such torture once more, they would collapse. Ugh! Instantly, the black-robed man opened his mouth. A turbid liquid flowed in it. His throat moved up and down, his eyes opened wide like something was about to run out from his stomach. Suddenly, a few black tentacles emerged from the creature's mouth. Then, a strange black, centipede-like insect crawled out of the creature's mouth, dragging its long body. The insect had a pair of curved, sickle-like teeth in its upper and lower jaw. Then, it crawled to the other 2 and used its teeth to bite off the ropes that were made of black mist that were binding their bodies. Leave, if not we will all die here. That black-robed man's aura became weaker and weaker, and in the end he was dead. Brother, you are magnanimous. The 2 black-robed men who were saved were touched. This was the spirit of brotherhood. Chapter 162. The 2 of them knew that they weren't out of danger. This was still the Een demon's territory. The huge trees covered the sky and blocked out all the sunlight, causing this place to be totally dark. This was a paradise for the Een demons to live in. They didn't know why the Een demons would appear here. It belonged to another matter. When they faced the Een demons, they were terrified to death and felt like they were not far from death. Who knew that the Een demons didn't kill them? At the start, they thought that the Een demons changed. Who knew that it wasn't that they changed, but that their methods became even more terrifying and they knew how to trick people. They had many methods and were challenging to the human body. Retract your aura and be careful. We can't alert the Een demons here, otherwise, none of us will be able to leave. The black-robed man was nervous. Letting go of the cross was just the start. The true danger was how to leave this dark forest without alerting the Een demons. They knew that it was tough. However, there was a chance. It was daytime, and even if this place was dark, the Een demons were used to sleeping in the day. As long as they were careful, they would be fine. Everything was normal. The 2 of them were really careful and didn't wake up any of the Een demons. Suddenly, the 2 of them stopped. In their line of sight, there was a stone thrown. There was no one on it, and there were some yellow leaves on it. Why is there a stone thrown here? One of the black-robed men asked softly. They didn't understand much about Een demons and only knew that Een demons existed. After all, there weren't many people who understood Een demons. Don't worry, let's go. At such a time, why would they care about such things? They didn't care about the throne at all and just wanted to leave this place quickly. Suddenly, the 2 of them didn't walk far before they felt that something wasn't right. A light breathing sound spread into their ears. When they raised their heads, they noticed that there was an Een demon sitting on the empty throne. That Een demon was different from the others. It was a female Een demon. There were 3 red patterns on the sides of her face. Her body shone with a black glow like she was wearing a leather shirt. There was a white circle in the middle of her chest. The circle seemed to have radiation, pulling out many red patterns. At that moment, the chest of the female Een demon rose up and down like she was in deep sleep. But to the 2 black-robed men, it was as if they had seen a ghost. There was nothing there just now. Where did this fellow come from? His appearance was too inexplicable. Because it was too inexplicable, it gave them a sense of horror. The 2 of them exchanged glances with one another. They felt that the Een demon base was just too terrifying and they couldn't stay here for long. They had to run, otherwise they wouldn't be able to escape. Just as the two of them lowered their heads and were about to leave, a chill came from behind them. It has been a long time since humans dared to enter the demon nest. Thump, thump. Their hearts were beating very fast, and sweat was pouring down their foreheads. They had actually been discovered. They felt that their bodies were somewhat stiff, and they couldn't move at all. This demon was too weird, and who knew how terrifying it was? Not to mention the countless demons sleeping here. If they all woke up, they wouldn't be able to leave. They wouldn't even be able to leave their corpses intact. Slowly, when the two of them turned their heads, they noticed that the demon sitting on the stone throne had woken up. A pair of devilish purple eyes stared at them, causing them to shiver and goosebumps to rise all over their bodies. That cold intent was even more terrifying than when he faced Head Su. "Come to my side." Luo Yao waved his hands. One of the black-robed men seemed to be tempted and actually walked towards Luo Yao. His partner shivered and didn't dare to remind him. The appearance of this demon made him feel that it was thousands of times more terrifying than the other demons. The black-robed man sat next to Luo Huai. Luo Huai's fingernails were very long and sharp. He hooked the black-robed man's chin, then slowly slid his fingertips towards his chest. He said playfully, "You don't taste very delicious, but your fear makes me excited." Pucci. Luo Yao's fingernails stabbed into the skin of the black-robed man and pierced through his flesh. Gulp. Luo Yao's fingernails were like an 4-tube, absorbing the flesh and blood of the other party. The blood flowed along his fingernails to his arm and then into his body. Under that pitch-black arm, there seemed to be red blood seeping in. Oh my God, he really attacked. Although Luo Yao wasn't cruel, he was really vicious. Instantly, he noticed that his partner's body started to dry up like he had shrunk by half. Run. He had to run. When he had such a thought, he couldn't take it anymore. If he continued to stay here, he would definitely die. He had to run, and maybe he would have a chance of living. As for whether or not he would wake up those sleeping demons, what a joke. So what if they woke up? Could they be more terrifying than this Luo Yao of unknown background? He ran quickly. Some demons were too lazy to dig holes and just slept there. They were furious that he stepped on them and woke them up. Which bastard didn't have eyes? He even dared to step on demons. Did he want to ascend to the heavens? The great dark demon stood up and laughed out loud. Her laughter was very terrifying. She had long, jet-black hair, which seemed to have a mind of its own. All of it flew up like steel needles, extending out endlessly towards the black-robed man. Pucci, have you ever felt 10,000 needles piercing your body? The black-robed man felt it. His body was pierced by the long hair, and one couldn't see his face, much less his body. He was wrapped up like a cicada. When the hair loosened, a skeleton fell to the ground. In that short instance, the black-robed man's flesh and blood were all gone. It was just too terrifying. King! All the demons knelt on the ground. Their king had woken up. This was a good sign. Their king was rubbed on the ground by that damn human and was badly injured. He was bleeding heavily. They felt heart pain when they saw that. But now that their king finally came out, it meant that their demons weren't existences that could be bullied. At least in the demon race, their small power wouldn't be bullied so easily. I am tired and need to sleep. Don't let humans enter our territory, Luo Yao said coldly. The demon said coldly. He then returned to the throne. His body seemed to be made of liquid as he slowly melted, flowing into the stone throne and disappearing underground. A few days later, Chun Shengyao came to Marshall Path Mountain for the first time. He came with sincerity and didn't act high profile in Jiang City. After this matter, he understood that the more he acted high profile, the higher the chances of people targeting him. He couldn't take such torture anymore. If it happened one more time, he would really die. Lin Fan brought Chun Shengyao into the room and knocked him out. 2 hours later, when Chun Shengyao was about to wake up, Lin Fan wiped the tea on the table on his face. He acted like he was sweating profusely. He told him directly. To suppress the mother bug in his body, he spent a few years of internal strength for nothing. That was all cultivated. Looking at Lin Fan, he didn't look like he was bragging. It was indeed tough. Didn't he see the sweat on his head and face? Those were the real deal, not a joke. When Yuan Tianshu found out about this, he didn't need to know much, just one word. Fake. He was just so confident. As long as others said that Lin Fan suffered a huge loss to save someone, he could tell them not to believe it. Whoever believed it was a fool. Other people couldn't see through it, but how could he not? Sect leader Lin, it has been tough on you. If you need anything, just tell me. Don't be polite. If you are, my life will be in danger. Chen Xingyao pulled Lin Fan's hand and said solemnly. He was trying to live, so he didn't think so much. He had already experienced the outbreak of the poisonous insects. A huge blister appeared on his chest. Not only was it disgusting, but it was also painful. If he had to experience it again, he would rather die than suffer. Lin Fan smiled. Okay, young Master Chun, don't worry. I'll try my best to heal you. Other people's trust was his greatest support. So what if Chun Xingyao sent Wolf Brigade to wipe out Marshall Path Mountain? That was in the past. A truly broad-minded person would not remember past gratitude and grudges, and he was such a broad-minded person. Look at Chun Xingyao's current situation. He didn't take pleasure in their misfortune, nor did he take advantage of their misfortune, nor did he sit back and watch. Instead, he treated everyone equally. Kiki, Yuan Tianshu looked at Lin Fan and Chun Xingyao's conversation and laughed coldly. He felt that Chun Xingyao was just SOSO. He was actually played by that surnamed Lin. Sad, pitiful. Like what he said, Chun family wouldn't survive for long. He didn't believe him? Then, let's wait and see whether or not what I said would come true. Lin Fan was satisfied with the current outcome. Marshall Path Mountain had a long-term business. At least before Chun Xingyao noticed, this business could continue, along with the funds being replenished. His heart swelled. Marshall Path Mountain was still too simple. He even wanted to buy 2 giant statues to erect at the entrance. Zhang Tianshan rushed the workers to be quick. So many days have passed, and they aren't done. They're too slow. Lin Fan said, why wasn't his 3-story leisure building done? He was really anxious. Zhang Tianshan wasn't in a good mood recently. He was worried about 9 bug gang. Demons, work harder and kill them. You had to kill them. As long as those few people died, 9 bug gang wouldn't know who did it. If they wanted to investigate, they would have to start from the beginning. However, looking at the 9-headed bug grow bigger and bigger, he panicked. What was the limit of this bug? It was already the size of a dog now. He didn't dare to place it where others could see it, but he placed it in the back courtyard. 9 heads, it looked really weird, enough to scare people to death. If people who came to Marshall Path Mountain to work saw it and spread it in the city, then without even guessing, one would know where the thing they were looking for was. The development of Marshall Path Mountain made him pumped up, and he saw a bit of hope. At the same time, he had to protect the kids' safety. He couldn't just play around. Things might happen. Chapter 163. A few days later, in the back courtyard, Lin Fan laid on the chair. Apart from doing things, he spent the rest of his time basking in the sun and enjoying the wind. He was really carefree and relaxed. He didn't have any big dreams and didn't have any big goals. He was king, having a huge back garden, and raising a dog was the best life. That was a life that numerous people envied, but couldn't get. The 9-headed bug laid in Lin Fan's arms. Lin Fan reached out and touched its head. The 9 heads were really organized. After you were touched, it would be my turn to be touched. One by one, no one was allowed to snatch. Gozi found it hard to accept young Master's sense of beauty. This bug was too ugly, but young Master didn't care at all. He even touched it gently. If it was someone else, they would have been frightened to death. Young Master, what are you thinking about? Gozi saw that young Master was in a daze for a long time and asked curiously, I miss home. Lin Fan looked into the endless distance and had many thoughts in his mind. Occasionally thinking about it would give him the aura of a depressed boy. He lowered his head and rubbed the 9-headed bug's head. It felt really good. Go play at the side. He tossed the 9-headed bug to the ground and let it play on its own. When he had nothing to do, he would feed it some gray internal strength to help it grow. Look at how much fun the 9-headed bug was having, its 9 heads fighting for a ball. It wasn't like before where dust flew all around. Instead, it was like they had agreed on conditions, and each head played once. Lin Fan looked at the nine-headed bug and wanted to know how far it could grow. At least until now, he didn't notice anything shocking about it. Instead, he felt like Marshall Path Mountain found a useless person. The next day, Jiang City welcomed an uninvited guest. Feng Poliu came to Jiang City from Rong City. It wasn't that Jiang City was beautiful or that the beauties here were outstanding, but that he found out from a secret channel that 9 Bug Gang took a huge loss here. Yang Fei betrayed 9 Bug Gang and stole the treasure. They sent a bunch of people to die in Jiang City. They weren't killed by Yang Fei, and even Yang Fei seemed to have disappeared. Feng Poliu felt like this matter wasn't simple, so he came to take a look. Within the city, Feng Poliu led the horse and looked around. His nose shook slightly. If one didn't look closely, one wouldn't notice that his nose was shaking in a certain rhythm. Although a long time had passed, ordinary people would not be able to smell the odor in the street. But Feng Poliu smelled something different. Without needing anyone to lead him, he led the horse slowly to the street where it happened. He stood on the street motionlessly. The commoners walked past him, but they did not attract his attention. In his eyes, the dusty ground had a different color. Looking around, the scene from that time appeared in his mind. Who cultivated the bug controlling technique? Not long after, Feng Poliu knew everything. The person who attacked knew the bug controlling technique, and his realm was terrifyingly high. Which Insect Valley old man did it? Why did he do it? Many mysteries appeared in his mind. These mysteries made him very confused, and he couldn't even find a clue to the mystery. He had the reputation of killing his master, but one had to say that normal people in Insect Valley didn't dare to attack him. Even if he did, he would pretend not to see it. Unless you want to be beaten up. Look at who he was. Would normal people dare to attack him? Suddenly, a really tempting voice spread into his ears. Don't miss this chance. Come in and play. If you lose, you won't feel pained. If you win, you will laugh. Honest gambling den. Fun is the main thing. Sir, come in and play. Someone shouted at the entrance and then asked Feng Poliu. Feng Poliu's hands were itchy. He came to investigate the 9 Bug Gang matter and not to gamble. But for some reason, this gambling den was too tempting, such that he couldn't move. Forget it. He would play. Anyway, it was okay. Feng Poliu, who had some extra money, liked to rely on gambling to get rich. That feeling was really good. Look after this horse. I will reward you later. Feng Poliu patted his shoulder and said, Don't worry, sir. Go play. Leave this horse to me. The staff looked at the horse out of habit. It was not bad. It was worth some money. Later on, the gambling den would have one more horse. Not long later, Pung, a person flew out from the gambling den. If you don't have money, then don't gamble. If you cause trouble, I will beat you to death. This horse is yours. Treat it as payment. Scram. The few helpers in the gambling den scolded Feng Poliu. Damn, Feng Poliu was furious. They said that fun was the main thing. So how could they be so much? He wanted to slap these fellows to death, but after thinking about it, he decided not to. Since he was willing to bet, he was willing to admit defeat. He would wait until he earned enough money. Then he would go on a killing spree and kill all of them. Feng Poliu got up and patted off the dust on his body. He noticed any gambling den was too unfriendly. Without money, he didn't have the mood to gamble. He went to investigate the 9 Bug Gang matter. Marshall Path Mountain. The smell spread out from here. Are people from Insect Valley up here? Feng Poliu raised his head and looked at the mountain. He felt that it was impossible. People from Insect Valley were sick in the head. Only then would they hide here. Anyway, his mind was in a mess, and he had no idea at all. This is a decent place to cultivate. Feng Poliu walked up the mountain. As he got closer, his nose twitched faster and faster. The aura is getting thicker and thicker. Before he reached the mountain, he saw a group of people walking towards him with shovels, hammers, and other tools. Feng Poliu was wary. I didn't even reach the mountain, and you sensed it. Which old man came? After the commoners looked at Feng Poliu, they didn't care much. They talked to one another and happily went down the mountain. During these days, they worked on Marshall Path Mountain and earned a lot of money, making them really happy. So I thought too much. Feng Poliu heaved a sigh of relief. He thought that there would be a huge battle, so they were just normal commoners. Not long later, when Feng Poliu came up the mountain, Zhou Mao appeared in front of him. "Who are you?" His words were direct. His tone was a little rushed. He asked expressionlessly who he was. That was a little overbearing. "You are that." When Feng Poliu saw Zhou Mao, he was shocked. He was really familiar. He had definitely seen him before. He thought about it. "You are the person I saw in Yu City, the cousin of the Lin family young master." He recalled right away. It wasn't because Zhou Mao was too handsome and unforgettable, but because he was too honest. It was tough to meet a second person with that silly look. Moreover, Feng Poliu nearly died that day. He actually sold the real cultivation technique to him. That was just too much. "Who are you?" Zhou Mao asked. "You don't remember me?" Feng Poliu asked. He was a little sad. He remembered him, but he actually didn't. Why did it feel like he wasn't important at all? Zhou Mao shook his head. "Who are you?" Just at that moment, Feng Poliu saw a dog-sized thing flash past. He looked closely. It looked like 9 demon. Feng Poliu exclaimed and instantly struck forwards. As expected, it was here. That shouldn't be the case. How did he have such a thing? "You are asking to die." Zhou Mao was furious when he saw him barge in. He waved his fist and hammered towards him. He didn't let him in, so he actually barged in. He deserved to be hammered to death. Feng Poliu raised his hand, using his palm to block the fist. He forced Zhou Mao back and then chased forwards. Zhou Mao retreated a few steps. His expression was solemn. This was an expert. No, he had to chase. Cousin was still inside. Now, Feng Poliu was more and more confused. 9 demon was snatched by Yang Fei. 9 bug gang chased, and then they sent people to chase. He smelled the scent of bug controlling technique and thought that someone from Insect Valley or someone from 9 bug gang stole it. Who knew that it wasn't? What was going on? When he chased the back courtyard, he saw a guy hugging 9 demon. Young Master Lin. Feng Poliu recognized the person lying there. It was actually the Yu City Lin family young master. Oh my god, what was going on? Why would the Lin family young master come to Jiang City? That didn't make sense. "You are?" Lin Fan looked at the person and thought about it. He suddenly recalled who he was. "Oh, you are that. That person." Feng Poliu was delighted. Finally, someone knew who he was. But shortly after, he felt that something wasn't right. Oh my god, he didn't expect that no one would remember him. He had no choice. He could only report his name to awaken their memories. "Young Master Lin, we met in Yu City. You even bought a technique for me. I am Feng Poliu, have you forgotten?" Feng Poliu said. Lin Fan was enlightened. Those people that were blocked appeared in his mind. I remember. You are that gambler, the Feng Poliu who was tossed out of the gambling den." Lin Fan recalled who this person was. So, he had met him in Yu City. His bug-controlling technique was given to him by him. Although there was a slight misunderstanding, that wasn't the main point. The main point was that he really gave him a real one. Also, was that his impression of him, just like that? Just at that moment, Zhou Mao charged in and was about to attack. "Stop, cousin," Lin Fan said. Zhou Mao retracted his hand and looked at Feng Poliu warily. His gaze was really unfriendly. As long as he dared to move, he would go all out. Feng Poliu looked at Zhou Mao and smiled. "Kid, don't be rash. It will harm your body." Lin Fan smacked his lips. "How can you talk to my cousin like that? Be more polite. Speak. Why did you come here?" This fellow didn't respect my cousin. Feng Poliu's impression in his heart instantly dropped. Rage points plus 11. Damn, this kid actually asked him why he came here. I didn't even ask you what you did. Wait, what did this kid's gaze mean? Where did that look of disdain come from? P.S. Thank you, millions of losers. 1416, 1616. Thank you very much for your 10,000 rewards. Chapter 164. Lin Fan really wanted to ask where the 11 rage points came from. Did this brother give it to him? He was really generous. He was from Insect Valley, there was no doubt about that. Father already said that bug controlling technique was Insect Valley's secret technique, but he didn't let him cultivate it. This fellow had a secret technique with him, so it was impossible that he wasn't from Insect Valley. Okay, young Master Lin, then I will be direct. Where did the bug in your arms come from? Feng Poliu asked. He noticed that 9 demon had already formed. It was surprising that it could grow so big. At the same time, 9 demon was violent, but now it was being carried in his arms and didn't move at all. Did it recognize him as its master? He was really confused. He didn't know how to explain. Anyway, he just felt that it was a little unrealistic. I picked it up, Lin Fan replied. What? Rage points plus 22. Could he speak properly? He was telling him the truth from the bottom of his heart, but he treated him so casually. Also, what was with that gaze? Was what he was wearing embarrassing? Or rather, he looked like a beggar. He didn't want to see such a look of disdain a third time. Young Master Lin, do you think I'm a fool? Feng Poliu asked. He noticed that it was too difficult to communicate with people, and he didn't care about it anymore. He treated him with sincerity, but he replied with a casual tone. Didn't he feel that it was a little too much? Lin Fan said, I didn't say that. I really picked it up. If you don't believe me, then there's nothing I can do. Who will believe you? Feng Poliu didn't want to continue talking to this fellow. It was just too tiring. Wait, why was he worrying? I wasn't someone from Insect Valley, so I should look at everything with the heart of a spectator and not argue with them. He thought through that point. Feng Poliu felt like he was a fool, asking for trouble for no reason. Suddenly, a surprised exclamation attracted Feng Poliu's attention. Zhang Tianshan came to find Lin Fan. When he saw Feng Poliu, he felt that this person was familiar, like he had seen him before, but he couldn't remember. Even if he did, it was decades ago. So much time had passed, so his memories were blurry. So how could he remember so clearly? When Feng Poliu saw Zhang Tianshan, he exclaimed. He felt that he was familiar, but he couldn't remember who he was. The two of them stood still and stared at each other, communicating with their eyes. As they watched, both of them narrowed their eyes, as if they were sending some kind of message with their eyes. Instantly, Zhang Tianshan took a step forwards while Feng Poliu went in the opposite direction. The two of them formed a circle and looked at each other as they spun in circles. Their gazes were really sharp. After exchanging glances for a long while, Feng Poliu decisively said, Have we met before? Zhang Tianshan said, It should be. How? Feng Poliu asked. Zhang Tianshan said, I don't remember. What about you? Feng Poliu said, I don't remember. Think about it. Zhang Tianshan said, I can't think of one. You think of one. Feng Poliu said, I can't think of it. What is your name? Zhang Tianshan. Feng Poliu. Instantly, the two were dumbfounded for a moment before they exclaimed in unison, You are the little Zhang that I beat up in the past. You are the little Feng that I beat up in the past. Feng Poliu. Zhang Tianshan. Crazy. Lin Fan shook his head and was lazy to bother about the two of them. Were they sick in the head? He really didn't understand what was going on. He touched the 9-headed bug's head. He felt like the people who appeared recently were really weird. He didn't do anything, so why did he get involved with Insect Valley? He thought to himself, but he was shameless enough. Why didn't he do anything? Who killed One-Eyed, the 3 men, and the beauty? Who conned the Black Robe group? Where did the dog head in his hand come from? Zhang Tianshan, long time no see. Feng Poliu said. He really didn't expect that he could meet someone he was familiar with decades ago. Time passed really quickly. In the blink of an eye, so much time had passed. He had gotten old. That's right, Zhang Tianshan exclaimed. Life was just so hurried like water. Why are you here? Feng Poliu asked. He felt like the situation wasn't right. Yu City Lin family young master appeared around Jiang City. Zhang Tianshan also appeared here. The news that was revealed was a little interesting. Zhang Tianshan said, This is Marshal Path Mountain. He is the sect leader, and I am the deputy sect leader. Why are you here? Feng Poliu nodded his head and understood the situation. I came here to investigate something. I think you shouldn't keep this bug. There are no benefits to it. Feng Poliu said. He was speaking from the bottom of his heart. Not everyone could keep 9 demon. This concerned 9 bug gang in Insect Valley. If 9 bug gang was serious, Marshal Path Mountain would be flattened. Lin Fan smiled. What benefits? This nine-headed bug is obedient, is a good pet. Do you know what it is? Feng Poliu asked. Young Master Lin, you're just too bold. Even if your father is Lin Wani, you can't be so lawless. I know, a nine-headed bug. Lin Fan said. The more others wanted him to give up, the more he wouldn't. That meant that it was a good thing. If it wasn't, would so many people come to snatch it? Did they really think he was dumb? People who thought he was dumb were all living tragic lives. This is Nine Demon. I think you shouldn't keep it. If Nine Bug Gang finds out, you won't have a peaceful life. Feng Poliu said. He wasn't from Insect Valley, so naturally, he wouldn't be a busybody. But it was such a waste for a young man to lose his life because of this. He couldn't take it anymore. He also wanted to remind him to let him know that some things couldn't be done as he pleased. Sect leader, I think so too. Zhang Tianshan said. It was rare for someone to help persuade him, so naturally, he had to stab him. He couldn't keep this bug, at least not now. Lin Fan wasn't satisfied with Zhang Tianshan. What are you thinking, a deputy sect leader who doesn't stand on the side of the sect leader? He isn't a good deputy sect leader. You make me disappointed in you. Zhang Tianshan, shut up. Big brother, you are amazing. Just treat it as if I didn't say anything. I was just casually saying it. It is up to you whether you want to listen or not. I just had a bad mouth and couldn't help but say a few words. Feng Poliu waved his hands. Wait, that isn't the main point. I just want to ask one thing. Did you cultivate the bug controlling technique? That was the main point. Bug controlling technique was a secret of Insect Valley. Even in Insect Valley, not many people knew it. Apart from those few old fellows, no one else had the right to come into contact with it, much less cultivate it. Bug controlling technique? What is that? Lin Fan asked curiously. Damn, you're still acting in front of me? Feng Poliu felt that the young people these days were really scheming. Moreover, they didn't speak much of the truth. If you didn't cultivate the bug-controlling technique, how did you raise Nine Demon to such a state? Moreover, the lingering aura on the streets was the aura of the bug-controlling technique. Stop lying. Can you be more honest? Let's speak the truth. Lin Fan didn't want to talk about all this with him. He didn't care about the nine-headed bug or the bug-controlling technique. He was interested in Feng Poliu, looking at his current demeanor. Although he didn't look like a beggar, the aura around his brows was enough to prove that he was poor and penniless. Looking at his clothes, some places were covered in dust. That was enough to show that this person wasn't doing well and was in a bad state. To be able to break through Cousin's obstruction, it meant that he wasn't weak. Moreover, he was really strong. This was a talent that Martial Path Mountain needed. As for those normal disciples, it was useless even if they came. Martial Path Mountain was a place where he enjoyed his time. To develop those disciples, he had to tighten his belt. To develop others wasn't what he wanted. Lin Fan said calmly, name a price. It would be easier to solve the problem if he spoke bluntly. What did you say? Feng Poliu asked weirdly. He didn't understand what he meant. Lin Fan said, I see that you are a person, but looking at your appearance, it seems like your life isn't good. Coincidentally, my Martial Path Mountain lacks a helper. Are you interested? Name a price. Feng Poliu stared at Lin Fan. This kid was a little overbearing. He actually talked to him about money. However, money was indeed a good thing. He loved it when people talked to him about money. Young Master Lin, I won't join any organizations in my life. Feng Poliu said proudly. He was someone who had been through storms and had accepted it long ago. However, Lin Fan's following words made him feel a little uneasy. I don't need you to join. It is just an employment relationship. Name a price. Lin Fan said. There weren't many people who could fight in Martial Path Mountain. He and his cousin were the only two who could fight. As for Zhang Tianshan, forget it. He was good at dealing with demons, but although he wasn't sure of his own strength, it should be just SOSO and not that strong. Feng Poliu felt like he was being insulted. No matter what, I'm most talented Insect Valley disciple in decades. I was even close to becoming the head of Insect Valley. No matter where I went, as long as I revealed some news, people would fight to the death for me. Feng Poliu had nowhere to go. He also wanted to know whether or not young Master Lin cultivated the bug controlling technique. He had to understand this matter. Okay, 10,000 a month. He gave a fair price. With his previous status and current strength, 10,000 taels of silver was very cheap. Send the guest off. Lin Fan waved his hands and scolded in his heart. Damn, he was even blacker than me. To even ask for 10,000, why didn't he just ascend to the heavens? Young Master Lin, 1,000. Feng Poliu said. Lin Fan waved his hands and didn't plan on talking at all. Feng Poliu looked at Lin Fan and couldn't accept it. Young Master Lin, 1,000 is expensive? With me here, your Martial Path Mountain's safety isn't a problem. Zhang Tianshan patted Feng Poliu's shoulder and said, You are a little too much. Damn, Feng Poliu had nothing to say. That was too much. Your Martial Path Mountain is used to exploit people, right? Based on what you said, isn't it better if you don't give me silver? Feng Poliu was unhappy. Lin Fan agreed, that is good. Feng Poliu rolled his eyes. 100 silver. Forget it if you don't give. I won't stay. 100 silver wasn't a small sum. It was like 100,000 monthly salary, a sky-high price. Chapter 165. 100 silver to get Feng Poliu to be a helper. That was a huge gain, and it wasn't a loss at all. Martial Path Mountain wasn't a huge sect. As long as there were 3 who could fight, then they were basically safe. Zhang Tianshan felt wronged. Why did he have to give Feng Poliu 100 silver? As the deputy sect leader of Martial Path Mountain, he didn't even have a single silver. As for whether or not he could get money in the future, it depended on whether or not Lin Fan was willing to give. He wanted to protest. He wanted to rebel. However, just thinking about it, it was impossible for him to do so. Zhang Tianshan said softly, Sect leader, if he can get 100 silver, then, as the deputy sect leader, can I get some silver too? He felt that, as the deputy sect leader, he should have some silver. If not, then that didn't make sense. Lin Fan patted Zhang Tianshan's shoulder and said, We are family. Let's not talk about this. Martial Path Mountain lacks silver. In the future, when we have money, we will give you a large portion. Those words were used to bluff ghosts. Zhang Tianshan was that ghost. Zhang Tianshan wanted to slap his own mouth. His mouth was so cheap, he asked for nothing, and he was actually dreaming. His brain had holes in it. Could Lin Fan's words be trusted? Whoever believed him was a fool. He was so stingy. What was good about this Feng Poliu, apart from being strong? He was useless. That night, Zhang Tianshan wasn't in a good mood. He drank alone and got drunk. Liang Yongqi served him from the side. He was really attentive. What happened to the deputy sect leader? Why was he so worried? Not long later, Zhang Tianshan told Liang Yongqi to go back. He wanted to cry alone. The gap between people, when it happened to him, it really made him want to cry. That fellow, what right did he have? Wasn't he just a bit stronger in the martial path? In terms of experience, he was the deputy sect leader. He was a head higher than him. Within the room, Liang Yongqi and Yuan Tianchu were still sharing a room. Martial Path Mountain hadn't been renovated, and once it was, the two of them would split up and live separately. Yuan Tianchu looked at Liang Yongqi return and didn't say anything. This person wasn't on the same path as him. He had been recruited by Zhang Tianshan. Right now, he was the only one who could remain calm. However, he had something he wanted to say in his heart, and if he didn't say it out loud, he wouldn't be happy. He didn't dare to say it to others, in case the other party woke up, but he was at ease with Liang Yongji. With his intelligence, it was hard for him to understand too much. Brother Liang, do you know what happened on Martial Path Mountain today? Yuan Tianchu sat on the bed, holding a book in his hands. The title of the book was The Complete Collection of Conspiracies. The content of this book was very interesting, and he had benefited a lot from it. This book was written by a famous eunuch. Liang Yongqi didn't want to bother with Yuan Tianchu. He felt that this person had already become a demon, and he couldn't understand what he was saying. Delusion, guessing, gibberish. What happened? Liang Yongqi asked. He didn't dare to not ask, otherwise, he would find all sorts of ways to make him ask. If he didn't say what was in his heart, he wouldn't be able to sleep tonight. Yuan Tianchu closed the book, and seeing that there was no one outside, he said calmly, Today, a guy entered Marshall Path Mountain, and Lin Fan gave him 100 silver a month to be a helper of Marshall Path Mountain. Do you know what that means? 100 taels? He is so generous? Liang Yongqi was shocked, and he was filled with disbelief. 1 silver was equivalent to 1,000 on Earth. It was already not bad for normal people to earn 1 silver a month. Now that he heard that Lin Fan gave that person 100 silver a month, he was so shocked that he didn't know what to say. It was like he had heard a shocking secret. Yuan Tianchu smiled. Generous? Not only is this generous, but something bad is going to happen. Forget it. Let's not talk about other things. Pay attention in the future, in case you get sold and don't even know what happened. He wouldn't tell Liang Yongji about the deeper level of things. Because he had nothing better to do, he thought hard about it. He had already thought through the matter thoroughly, and had even clearly understood the ins and outs of the matter. Lin Fan was so stingy to give someone 100 silver a month. Who would dare to believe that? Because no one dared to believe it, it meant that there was a problem. He was slowly eating away at Zhang Tianxin's power. As long as that person did something huge, Zhang Tianxin's deputy sect leader position would be gone. He was the one who said all these guesses. He didn't believe it? Wait and see. Liang Yongqi was shocked that Lin Fan would be so generous. He slowly came back to his senses and looked at Yuan Tianchu with a weird expression. Let me say something, don't be unhappy. I feel like you have changed a lot since you came out from your city. Why don't you head to Jiang City to see a doctor? I feel like you're stimulated here. He pointed at his head. His meaning was obvious that there was something wrong with his head. Yuan Tianchu was the second son of the Yuan family and wasn't ostracized by father. Unlike him, father didn't love me, big brother fought for love. Even if I was dispirited, I wouldn't feel so much despair. He was looking forward to Marshall Path Mountain being renovated. He wanted to leave this house and live alone, far away from Yuan Tianchu, far away from this dangerous fellow who often had delusions. Feng Poliu stayed on Marshall Path Mountain. There weren't many reasons. Although 100 silver was tempting to him, that wasn't the key. He wanted to know whether or not young Master Lin cultivated the bug controlling technique. He sat cross-legged on the bed and felt the special fluctuations of the bug controlling technique. What a waste. Marshall Path Mountain was really calm, and there were no such fluctuations. He definitely didn't sense wrongly. Maybe there were some secrets that he didn't know about hidden here. Several days later, Marshall Path Mountain was renovated. The 3-story building was built. The fake mountain and fountain were built. This was the life that Lin Fan looked forward to. In the future, this 3-story building would be where he would rest. During this period of time, he told Qin Shangyao that the medicine was prepared. Although it couldn't cure him, suppressing it wasn't a problem. This made Qin Shangyao delighted. He sent another 30,000 silver bills over. Lin Fan was like a vampire, sucking Qin Shangyao dry. One couldn't stare at sheep, but he had no choice as he only had one chance. If he didn't stare at him, then who else could he stare at? As for the medicine, the recipe was also very simple. All one had to do was to use local materials, grind mud into powder, and mix it into water. Although the taste was weird, the effect was decent. Qin Shangyao felt that after he drank it, his body didn't feel any pain or itch. He was like a normal person. He attributed all of this to Lin Fan. He was really amazing. Sect leader Lin, has the opening date been confirmed? Huang Born asked. He invested in Marshall Path Mountain and naturally hoped that Marshall Path Mountain could get stronger. He didn't ask for it to become a huge sect, just to be able to help the Huang family. There was one thing that wasn't good. He didn't see many disciples on Marshall Path Mountain, but the renovations were quite good. There was also that 3-story building, fake mountain, fountain, etc. They were all spent on real money. Did sect leader Lin spend all his money on this? Lin Fan said, it is confirmed. Tomorrow is the opening day, so let's keep it simple. If Brother Huang is willing to help, we can make it more grand. Huang Boren looked at the sky. It was so blue. He acted like he didn't hear anything. He invested so much. He didn't even see any returns and wanted to con people. At least he had to see some returns. Sect leader Lin, I think it is better to keep it simple. Let those people who come see and let them know that Marshall Path Mountain isn't built with money, but it focuses on nurturing the sex culture. Who knew what Huangboran was saying? To prevent himself from being tricked, he tried his best to bluff. When other sects opened their mountains, which one of them didn't do it in a grand manner to shock others and let them know how strong the sect was? Yes, that makes sense. Today, I hope that Brother Huang can inform the families in Rivertown to attend the ceremony tomorrow. Lin Fan said. Huang Boran was really sensitive to money. When he learned that Zhang Tianshan returned to Marshall Path Mountain, he couldn't wait to charge over. He blocked him on the mountain and asked for money. If he didn't pay, he wouldn't leave. Marshall Path Mountain's matters are my Huang family's matters. Don't worry, Brother Lin. Huang Boran said. Naturally, he placed Marshall Path Mountain's matters in his heart. If Marshall Path Mountain didn't succeed, then all the money he invested in Marshall Path Mountain would be wasted. When Huang Boran returned to Jiang City and invited the merchants of Jiang City to attend the Marshall Path Mountain opening ceremony, many of them were shocked. What did the opening of Marshall Path Mountain have to do with me? Why did you call us over? They didn't think about attending. But young Master Huang personally invited them, so if they didn't go, they wouldn't be giving them face. However, many of them didn't reject right away. They looked at the situation and wanted to know what Chen family said. If Chen family didn't go, then there was no need for them to go. Even if old Master Chen died, Chen family and Huang family were still the two aristocratic families of Jiang City. They were the wind vane, the beacon. It wasn't like they didn't know what happened to Marshall Path Mountain in the past. There were many people, but in the end, the mountain was still closed. They couldn't even pay for the rent. That situation was just so embarrassing. But shortly after, Chun family was actually busy about the opening of Marshall Path Mountain. They were shocked. Damn, Chun family and Marshall Path Mountain had nothing to do with each other. So why did Chun family stand on Marshall Path Mountain's side? The merchants felt that this matter wasn't so simple. There was definitely an important secret hidden within that no one noticed. Marshall Path Mountain opening a sect, they had to go. Moreover, they had to follow Chun family and Huang family. The next day, within the room, Zhang Tianshan stood in front of the mirror, wearing the clothes that he had kept for a long time. In the past, he couldn't bear to wear them. Now, that Marshall Path Mountain was opening once more, as the deputy sect leader, he had to be at his peak condition. He had to let the person who came see that he was different right away. Another room. Liang Yongqi adjusted his clothes and noticed that Yuan Tianshu didn't move at all. He reminded, "The opening ceremony is about to begin. Why aren't you dressing up?" Yuan Tianshu laughed. Dressing up? Boring dumb. He had no interest in the battle between Zhang Tianshan and Lin Fan. As for dressing up, that was impossible. Looking at how busy Liang Yongqi was, he wanted to laugh. Maybe one day, he would regret his stupidity today. Liang Yongqi was lazy to talk to Yuan Tianshu. This person had no motivation at all and had no motivation at all. Chapter 166. Marshall Path Mountain was really busy today. Not only did the rich families of Jiang City come, but many commoners also surged up. They didn't come to congratulate Marshall Path Mountain for opening. They just wanted to see whether or not Marshall Path Mountain recruited disciples. They missed the Marshall Path Mountain in the past. They recruited numerous disciples and gave them money each month. They didn't care much about them. Apart from notifying them, they didn't have anything else to do. They were carefree and could earn money. Who didn't want to join Marshall Path Mountain? However, this time their thoughts were going to fail. How would Lin Fan recruit disciples? He wanted to find experts like Feng Poliu who were easy to talk to and communicate with. However, it was tough to meet such experts. Chun Xingyao appeared on Marshall Path Mountain like he was really familiar with it. Although he didn't greet those merchants, he would still nod his head to express his welcome. Many of them were confused. Was Chun Xingyao's brain shot? They got news from the small channels that Chun Xingyao and Marshall Path Mountain didn't have a good relationship and had many conflicts. However, looking at the situation, he didn't look like someone with conflicts. How would Chun Xingyao go against Marshall Path Mountain? He was about to be frightened to death. He had to rely on the Marshall Path Mountain sect leader to live. Don't tell him that this was a trap set up by Marshall Path Mountain. As long as he heard people say that, he would be furious. Did they all want him to die? Did they think that he couldn't tell whether or not it was a trap? Old Master Wang, please enter. Not far away, Huang Boren welcomed him. Haha, young Master Huang is too polite. The merchants who came didn't give face to Marshall Path Mountain, but to Huang family and Chen family. The two aristocratic families of Jiang City came. So how could they not come? They thought that since old Master Chen died, they could work together to split up Chen family. Who knew that Chen family actually had a backup plan? The support of the commoners made many merchants feel unlucky. Huang Boren looked at Chen Shengyao. He didn't expect this fellow to actually come to Marshall Path Mountain to help. But that was good. Huang family invested in Marshall Path Mountain, so it was great that Chen family could help. Zhang Tianshan smiled. Today was the happiest day for him. It felt really good. Although he became the deputy sect leader, Marshall Path Mountain's opening ceremony was much grander than that time. Back courtyard. Young master, it is about time. Gozi helped Lin Fan adjust his clothes. All right, let's go then, Lin Fan said. He felt that he was young and promising. If there were any uncles and aunties who knew of this, they would definitely give him a thumbs up and praise him for being able to become a sect master at such a young age. His future achievements would be immeasurable. When they left, Feng Poliu and Lu Gang were still there. Feng Poliu smiled. Not bad. When your father was young, he wasn't as amazing as you. It's all right. Just average. It's nothing much. Lin Fan replied. Feng Poliu didn't want to talk to Lin Fan. When this fellow bragged, his expression didn't change, like it was a normal thing. Who was Lin Wani? Some people might not know, but everyone knew that Lin Wani was not someone to be trifled with. When Yu City found out that he gave the wrong technique, he could have snatched it, but he didn't. That was because he knew who this kid's father was. Robbing? If something happens, who the hell is going to cover for me? At that moment, Marshall Path Mountain Main Hall. Zhang Tianshan coughed. Thank you all for coming to watch the Marshall Path Mountain opening ceremony. Please welcome the sect leader, Lin Fan. Papa. The applause wasn't loud. Only Chen Shengyao and Huang Boren were clapping. When a merchant saw the two of them clapping, they could only clap crazily. Slowly the applause got louder and louder, and the scene became more and more lively. Lin Fan walked onto the stage and waved his hands. A simple opening ceremony. It wasn't that complicated. It just let the Jiang City commoners and merchants know who the Marshall Path Mountain sect leader was. He didn't care much about these ceremonies. Once it ended, he would head to the 3-story building to enjoy himself. This was the first time the Jiang City merchants and commoners saw Lin Fan. When they learned that the Marshall Path Mountain sect leader was so young, they were shocked. So young? Could he manage Marshall Path Mountain well? Of course. Some commoners felt that it was good that he was young. He was easy to bluff. Maybe he would just casually say something, and he would agree to let them join Marshall Path Mountain. The ceremony was simple. They just did what they needed to do. Next was to announce the positions within Marshall Path Mountain. Marshall Path Mountain is formed today. The deputy sect leader will be Zhang Tianshan. The moment Lin Fan said that, Zhang Tianshan couldn't help but smile and wave his hands. This deputy sect leader was not bad, and he was satisfied. He continued to announce. Marshall Path Mountain Grand, disciple Liang Yongqi and Yuan Tianchu. Lin Fan said. Liang Yongqi knew that he was going to be chosen as the grand disciple, so he was in a good mood. Especially after Zhang Tianshan's teachings, his attitude had changed. Liang Yongqi walked forwards and knelt on one knee. Thank you, sect leader. When Yuan Tianchu saw those scenes, he was shocked. What was going on? He had to kneel down to this fellow. Impossible? That was definitely impossible. At that moment, Yuan Tianchu walked forwards and cupped his fists. Sect leader, I am mediocre, not as good as Liang Yongqi. I can't be the grand disciple. What he meant was obvious. I can't kneel as easily as Liang Yongqi. Of course, he thought that his words were obvious, but no one could tell what he meant. Liang Yongqi turned his head and nodded his head. You do know your place. Yeah. Yuan Tianshu was so angry that he almost lost his mind. Can't you have some F asterisk king shame? Don't you have any idea what I'm talking about? What a F asterisk king self-awareness. In the future, I will absolutely not care about you. You can live or die on your own and be toyed with by them. And that's good. Then you will be the second disciple. Lin Fan said. Damn. Yuan Tianshu wanted to spit blood at Lin Fan's face. But very quickly he understood. He even felt terrified when he thought about it. To actually target him in such a situation, digging a hole for him to jump in. How vicious. He didn't think that Lin Fan didn't understand what he meant. He didn't want to be the grand disciple, nor did he want to be the second disciple. He just wanted to be a spectator and look at the changes. All of their schemes weren't a secret in his eyes. Who knew that Lin Fan would plot against him while fighting Zhang Tianshan? As expected, he was amazing. He rejected the grand disciple position because he wanted to break away from the battle. So what if there were two grand disciples? He knew that Liang Yongqi and Zhang Tianshan were together, so he wanted someone to help him deal with Liang Yongqi. As the saying goes, one mountain can't have two tigers. Liang Yongqi and I both became grand disciples, so we would definitely have conflicts. Thus, you didn't waste a single soldier to push Liang Yongqi away from Zhang Tianshan, as expected. As for the second disciple, he wasn't simple either. However, he didn't know what his goal was at this step. However, he understood that if the ceremony didn't go smoothly, he would find a chance to deal with him. Forget it. Thank you, sect leader. Yuan Tianshu knelt down unwillingly. Who knew that Lin Fan was more skilled, blocking all his retreat paths. In the end, he was still tied to Martial Path Mountain. Lin Fan didn't mention Feng Poliu. Many people knew his name. Even if no one in Jiang City knew, it wouldn't be good if it spread out, so it was better for him to be invisible. Recently, he had been thinking about something. They had 3 experts. Were they confident in finding the Yin demons? Feng Poliu stood in the darkness and looked at the ceremony. He started to suspect whether or not this was a joke. How could there be a sect with only these few people? He couldn't understand. He really couldn't understand. The Martial Path Mountain opening ceremony officially ended. Huang Boren heaved a sigh of relief. He was finally on the right track. He prayed that Martial Path Mountain would rise up. He was waiting for rewards. Zhang Tianshan was surrounded by commoners. In the past, Zhang Tianshan recruited disciples from the commoners. Now, that Martial Path Mountain was opening, he had to snatch a spot. Zhang Tianshan naturally wanted Martial Path Mountain to have more disciples. When he saw these commoners, he wanted to get them over. If he got them all over, then Martial Path Mountain would have a huge reputation. However, when he thought about how he wasn't in charge of Martial Path Mountain, he felt helpless. He could only tell the commoners not to be anxious. He didn't have any plans to recruit disciples, and he would talk about it in the future. If Lin Fan knew what Zhang Tianshan was thinking about, he would have smashed his head. Don't think about it. Don't ever think about it. Are you looking for a disciple? You're looking for a father. Even a father is easy, but you're looking for an ancestor. You provide food and accommodation. You even give a monthly allowance. How much money do you have? Lin Fan called Zhang Tianshan and the others over. From now on, we are on the same side. Sect leader, we have always been on the same side. Zhang Tianshan said. Liang Yongqi nodded his head and followed behind Zhang Tianshan. Yuan Tianshu was in deep thought. He had been thinking about something. As for what he said now, it was just nonsense. Buying people's hearts? Really low-level methods. Despicable. Vicious. Cunning. Lin Fan patted their shoulders. He was serious. Since Martial Path Mountain was established, it was different from before. They were on the same side, and he wouldn't be stingy to his own people. That night, within the room, Liang Yongqi was packing things. He was going to move to a new room. He was really emotional. He was finally going to leave Yuan Tianshu, that terrifying fellow who knew how to think. Zhang Tianshan pushed the door and entered. His expression was a little weird, like he hadn't reacted to something. Little Liang, this is for you. Zhang Tianshan took out a 100 silver bill and passed it over. Liang Yongqi shuddered. Deputy sect leader, I don't need money. Zhang Tianshan was stunned. Sect leader, gave it to you to add furniture and buy things. In the future, you will have 50 silver a month. Ah, Liang Yongqi was stunned. What did he say? Did he hear it wrongly? Sect leader gave it to him? Lin Fan actually gave him money. The sun had already set, and there was no place for him to brag. What he said was just unbelievable. Yuan Tianchu was expressionless, but when he heard that Lin Fan gave him silver, his brows shook. Zhang Tianshan walked in front of Yuan Tianchu. This is for you. Damn! Yuan Tianchu raised his head. What was going on? The danger signal was raised. Chapter 167. Is he trying to buy their hearts? Yuan Tianchu didn't take the money and was thinking about why he did that. It wasn't much, but gave off a bad signal. Kiki, you want to bribe me with just a few taels of silver? You're looking down on me, the second young master of the Yuan clan. Why are you stunned? Sect leader gave it to you, so just take it. Zhang Tianxian rushed. He was stunned. His kid took out money for no reason and told him to give it to Liang Yongqi and Yuan Tianchu. He was stunned. What was he doing? In the past, he didn't give a single cent, but now he actually took out money. He even gave Liang Yongqi 50 silver a month. If he didn't personally witness it, he wouldn't dare believe it. Yuan Tianchu didn't have many emotions. He just held the bills in his hand calmly. Zhang Tianshan didn't say much. He had to go back and think about it. What was wrong with the kid? Did he start to be generous? Stop scaring him. Really, he was scared to death. Within the room, Liang Yongqi looked at the bills in his hand and thought back to those words. 50 silver a month. What was going on? He didn't know what to do. How much did he give you? Liang Yongqi asked. Yuan Tianchu didn't hide it. 50 silver. Liang Yongqi looked at Yuan Tianchu and then at the bills in his hand. You only 50 silver. Sect leader gave me 100. When he heard that, Yuan Tianchu's eyes jumped. He was actually a little unhappy. Instantly, he exclaimed in his heart that it wasn't good. He nearly fell for it. He came to his senses. Such a simple and violent plan was actually the most hurtful. Killing one's heart, how vicious. Giving Liang Yongqi 100 silver and him 50. Was he using money to compare the importance of the two of them? This caused him to be jealous, which caused him a fight with Liang Yongqi. As expected, he was a dangerous fellow. One plan didn't work, but there was another plan. It was continuous. There was a plan within a plan. From the start, he was planning to make Liang Yongqi and him the grand disciple together. Unfortunately, the plan was too simple. He saw through it right away and rejected it, not participating in it. Who knew that he would become the second disciple? At that time, he was thinking that what was the use, second disciple then? He wouldn't fight for it, so who would be jealous of him? Only now did he understand. So the real plan was still at the back. Give Liang Yongqi 100 taels of silver and give me 50 taels of silver. Liang Yongji's monthly salary is 50 taels of silver, while I only get 20 taels of silver. Was he using the difference in silver to make me unhappy and feel that I was being discriminated against so that he could fight with Liang Yongqi for the position of top disciple? Yuan Tianchu sneered again and again. No matter how many schemes you have up your sleeves, I, Yuan Tianchu, will not fight or snatch. My mind is not on your fights. Let's see how you can use me now. Lin Fan. You still underestimate me, Yuan Tianchu. Did he really think that he was still the Yuan Tianchu from Yu City? Also, he could swear to the heavens that Zhang Tianshan's monthly salary was 100 silver, the same as Feng Poliu. As the vice sect master, his monthly salary was actually the same as that of a consecrated person. No matter who it was, they would not feel good about it. So Lin Fan made Feng Poliu a helper to borrow someone else's knife to kill him, to let Zhang Tianshan and Feng Poliu fight. Amazing. It was truly amazing. The more he understood Lin Fan, the more he realized that Lin Fan was really shrewd. Even his brain couldn't compare to Lin Fan's. That was because he was slow to react and didn't think of all the plans right away. Liang Yongqi looked at Yuan Tianchu's cold smile and felt a chill down his spine. He quickly packed his bag. When he passed Yuan Tianchu, he patted his shoulder and said, Brother Yuan, I will leave first. Don't be angry. There should be some differences between top disciple and second disciple. I will leave first. The moment he said that, he directly left this place. He didn't dare to stay. He really didn't dare to stay. It was too terrifying. Dumb. Yuan Tianshu looked at Liang Yongqi's back view and shook his head helplessly. Although a naive person would live happily, when it came to life, his death would be worse than anyone else's. With my current ability, maybe I can fight with Lin Fan. Why not pretend to fall for his trap? The moment Yuan Tianshu had such a thought, he shook his head. No, definitely not. He couldn't take the risk, otherwise he would step into the abyss and be unable to turn back. It was better to be safe. Back courtyard. Lin Fan took out the bills and spread them on the bed. His heart ached a lot. He really spent a lot today. However, he had no choice. Martial Path Mountain was established, and they were all on the same side, so he couldn't be stingy with them. Zhang Tianqian's monthly allowance was 100 silver. Feng Poliu's was also 100. The two of them added up would be 2,400 silver a year. Liang Yongqi's 50 silver, 600 silver a year. Luckily, Yuan Tianshu was a good fellow. He didn't want to be a grand disciple, 20 silver a month, saving a few hundred a year. As for Go Zi and cousin, they didn't need money. They were already family. If anything happened and they needed money, then the money in front of them wouldn't belong to him anymore. The monthly allowance along with Martial Path Mountain's daily expenses would be 20 to 30 silver a day. That would be 10,000 a year. That wasn't a small sum. He didn't even want to count it. It made his heart ache. As for Zhang Tianxian wanting to recruit disciples, what a joke. How much wealth did he have? The current situation was already perfect. He slowly kept the bills on the bed and then carefully placed them under the bed. In the future, he had to develop Martial Path Mountain. He wanted to make Martial Path Mountain into his ideal paradise. Fuzhou, on the giant ship on the river. Head Su stood there, one hand grabbing the iron railing of the giant ship. He looked at the calm, bright moon hanging on the surface of the river. A light breeze blew past. His heart wasn't calm. So many days passed, and there was no news at all. That meant that the mission failed again. This wasn't something that anyone could take his rage and calm him down. He wanted to kill someone. They couldn't even do a small thing. Trash. All of them were trash. Head Su, standing here alone and looking at the night scenery, isn't like your style. A female voice spread out. The voice was really gentle and lazy. Head Su didn't turn his head and didn't say anything. In the darkness, no one knew how ugly his expression was. The woman slowly walked over. She was tall, and the most eye-catching part of her was her long and slender legs. Her snow-white skin shimmered under the moonlight. The girl didn't mind that Head Su didn't say anything and smiled. Gang leader gave you half a month to find the treasure. Now it is more than half. If you still can't find it, it'll be hard for you to answer. Suing, you better not bother about my matters. Head Su said with an annoyed tone. He cursed out in his heart. That girl. Su Ying placed her thin fingers by her lips and giggled. I don't want to bother about your matters. Gang leader told me to remind you to find it quickly. Oh right, gang leader also said that if you can't find 9 demon, then you will jump into the river like your nephew. Head Su's face was terrifyingly dark and sunken. B*TCH, a real B*TCH. Kachi, Kachi. As he was too furious, the giant iron railing deformed from his grip. How would he expect that gang leader's concubine Yang Fei would steal 9 demon and even let his brother's son die? If he didn't vent his anger, the rage in his heart wouldn't be extinguished. Su Ying left with a smile, as if she really wanted to see the other party's angry and helpless expression. That feeling made her feel really good. Head Su was in deep thought. It was too late to rely on others, so he could only do it personally. Jiang City? What ability did that broken place have to actually fail time and time again? A bunch of trash. If they didn't die, he really wanted to toss them into the river. The next day, morning, Zhang Tianshan sat in front of the table and rubbed his eyes like he didn't believe what he was seeing and thought that he was blind. What was the porridge in front of him made of? It wasn't plain porridge, but bird's nest porridge. What the F***CK was going on? He sneaked a look at Lin Fan. What did this kid want to do? The change was a little quick. He couldn't take it. Yuan Tianchu sat there and didn't dare to move his chopsticks. He was terrified. Did that surnamed Lin person want to poison them to death? Was this rich breakfast a way to send them off? Eat. Why aren't any of you moving your chopsticks? Or are you all used to plain porridge and are not used to it? Lin Fan saw that none of them moved and asked, was it because they were used to it, and now that they ate more, they couldn't change? No, I'm just thinking about something. Zhang Tianshan didn't care so much and drank a huge mouthful. Hot, hot, but one had to say that this porridge was much better than normal plain porridge. A look of enjoyment appeared on his face. After so many years, this breakfast was the best. Last night, Lin Fan said that he spent a lot of day. Ever since breakfast, he had known that the money would not stop flowing. Why are all of you eating so well, and only I am eating plain porridge? Feng Poliu objected. Even if they were trying to push him away, he shouldn't be so violent and simple. He directly started from breakfast. That was just too much. Lin Fan said, only internal members can enjoy this treatment. You are a helper and not a disciple of Martial Path Mountain. Just eat some plain porridge. Why do you need such high conditions? If you really can't do it, then join Martial Path Mountain and get the same treatment. Feng Poliu looked at Lin Fan. What a good plan. He swore in his life that he wouldn't join any sect. This was the promise he made to his dead master. Feng Poliu didn't say any nonsense, picking up the porridge and taking a mouthful. This sect was really stingy. In the past, he had never met such a stingy person. He learned something new. Yuan Tianchu slowly couldn't understand what Lin Fan was doing. What was going on? Giving them bird's nest porridge, and the change was huge. Was he trying to buy their hearts? If things were abnormal, then there would definitely be a reason. If a person was abnormal, then there would definitely be a blade. He should be hiding a blade. Liang Yongqi and Zhang Tianshan ate happily. However, he wouldn't be easily fooled. He had to be wary and be careful. Lin Fan ate while saying, our Martial Path Mountain has been formed, so we can't be as idle as usual. After we finish eating, I will give you a mission to find the Yin Demon base. Zhang Tianshan raised his head. Liang Yongqi, Yuan Tianchu, yesterday the sect was just formed and today he gave them such a tough mission? What was wrong with him? P.S. Asking for monthly votes. Everyone, please vote if you have them. Thank you. Chapter 168. It wasn't that they couldn't find the Yin Demon base, but what were they going to do after finding it? Sect leader, the Yin Demon base isn't hard to find. We even know the exact location. But why do we need to find them? Zhang Tianshan asked. He didn't think that the Yin Demons were pushovers and could be easily bullied. Lin Fan smiled. Just finding something. Since we know the exact location, let's head over together. He then looked towards Feng Poliu. Feng Poliu was thinking about what his gaze meant. Lin Fan knew what Feng Poliu's goal for staying here was. Silver was secondary. He wanted to know whether or not he cultivated the bug controlling technique. To investigate in the dark, why not spend some money to keep him on Martial Path Mountain? He could even be a helper. That was a good idea. 100 silver wasn't so easy to earn. Wolf Brigade, Dark Forest. You said that the Yin Demons are hiding here. Under Zhang Tianshan's lead, they came here. Looking at the Dark Forest, Lin Fan asked. Without needing Zhang Tianshan to say more, he felt that it was true. This atmosphere, this visual impact, if one said that there were no ghosts in the forest, he wouldn't believe it. And last time Little Yang came here, the Yin Demons came out from here. Zhang Tianshan said. Even in the day, one could feel the cold energy in the forest. Standing outside, they could see the black mist floating in the air. You have some courage. Lin Fan looked towards Liang Yongqi. This kid was really courageous, daring to come here in the middle of the night. Liang Yongqi lowered his head and felt embarrassed. He was so frightened that he peed his pants. Young Master Lin, I don't suggest you offend the Yin Demons. Feng Poliu said. The Yin Demon territory was so huge, which meant that there was a King Yin Demon here, one that wasn't easy to deal with. Moreover, there were definitely many Yin Demons. If there was a conflict, the few of them wouldn't even be enough. When Lin Fan left Yu City, he entered such a forest. However, he was perfectly fine. Now that he thought about it, Father was protecting him in the dark, suppressing the demons such that they didn't dare to come out. He didn't think that he was a scum. It was something that his father could do. If he worked hard, it shouldn't be a problem. Lin Fan came in front of a boulder that was as tall as 3 people. His fingers dug deep into the boulder, and with a low roar, he lifted the boulder up. With an angry roar, he exerted strength in his arms and threw the boulder high up into the air. Then, it quickly fell into the forest. A dull roar could be heard from far away. "What are you doing?" Zhang Tianshan asked. "Just throw it casually and see how it goes," Lin Fan said. He threw a stone in to test the waters. In the forest, when the giant stone landed, it crippled a few sleeping demons and woke up many of them. They surrounded the giant stone. Where did it come from? A stone fell from the sky. How terrifying. When a man lies in a pit, disaster comes from heaven. Very soon, a low growl came from the forest. Vaguely, there seemed to be ruby-like things flashing in the forest. Those were the eyes of the demons. Many demons noticed the humans outside. They really wanted to rush out and eat the humans, but they didn't have the guts to do so in broad daylight. Despicable humans, come at night if you dare. Let's go back. Lin Fan turned around and left. Zhang Tianshan and the others were stunned. What did he mean? He came here and just threw a stone before going back. That was so pointless. Didn't he do anything else? Feng Polio looked at Lin Fan. He didn't expect young Master Lin to be so strong. Not to mention internal strength. Just the strength to lift up the stone was something normal experts couldn't do. Moreover, there were no internal strength fluctuations at all. He relied on his own strength. What level did he cultivate external cultivation to? He really hadn't seen many people cultivate external cultivation to such a high level. After all, it was too tiring and torturous. Normal people couldn't take it at all. Lin Fan was prepared to use the demons. For some reason, recently, he felt that something wasn't right, like there would be trouble. A man's intuition was really accurate, much better than a woman's. The next day, early in the morning, Zhang Tianshan shouted, "Zhou Zhongmao, what were you doing last night? So loud. Can't you let me sleep?" Zhou Zhongmao carried many sharpened trees on his shoulder and looked at him. "Quick, my cousin is waiting for you at the foot of the mountain. Don't waste time." "I haven't eaten breakfast yet," Zhang Tianshan shouted. He couldn't let him not eat breakfast, right? Moreover, it was so early in the morning, so what was he doing? "I didn't prepare breakfast this morning. Let's eat after we are done. Quick, my cousin is getting impatient." Zhou Zhongmao rushed. He didn't sleep last night, plucking trees in the back mountain. He didn't pluck many, just a few dozen. Wolf Brigade Forest. Hayes, Yuan Tianchu was speechless. Why did they come here so early in the morning? At least let them eat breakfast. The sect was just formed, and they had to use cruel methods to exploit them. Feng Polio looked at the sharpened trees, and then at the fire pile. He was a little unsure. There's no need to do that, right? There's a need. My Martial Path Mountain is formed, so we have to lower the threat within 100 miles to the lowest. The existence of demons isn't good. Lin Fan had no choice. Within 100 miles, only demons existed. He couldn't go and offend all the rich merchants in Jiang City, right? Before he formed Martial Path Mountain, he could. Now that Martial Path Mountain was formed, he needed large amounts of funds. To cut off his own money-making path was a dumb move. Don't just stand there. Hurry up and attack. Lin Fan grabbed a tree and placed the other end of the tip on the fire pile. Very quickly, the branch started to burn. It burned brighter and brighter, and the tip was covered in thick smoke. Let's burn with flames. Lin Fan's body slanted. He swung his arm forwards. Shio! The burning tree broke through the air. A long flame dragon was dragged out from its tail. He wanted to use flames to burn the forest. Since they had conflicts, then he couldn't wait for the demons to attack. Fighting was like that. If you didn't move, others would, so why not attack first? Pung! The tree fell into the forest, its tip stabbing into the ground. The flames on its tail caused the surrounding trees to burn, and the sky was instantly covered in smoke. Zhou Zhongmao picked up 2 trees and lit them up. He swung his arms, and the two trees landed in the forest. The flames burned a large patch of trees. Fong Poliu was helpless, but he felt that it felt good. In the forest, many demons were sleeping, but suddenly they felt heat. The smell that entered their noses was a little irritating. When they opened their eyes and saw the situation above, they were so shocked that their limbs fell to the ground. Damn, what was going on? Why did it suddenly catch on fire? The demons in the forest shook. There was a fire, quickly extinguish it. Some of the demons were covered in flames, rolling on the ground. The sudden fire stunned many demons. What was going on? What happened? Damn it, it was really damn it. Instantly, a demon raised his head. The tree that fell from the sky pierced his body, pinning him to the ground. Of course, these couldn't cause any damage to the demons. The demon that was pierced turned into black smoke, leaving the tree. It then formed into a physical form, raising its head and roaring. It told all the demons that the flames came from the sky. Outside, Lin Fan looked at the burning ocean of flames. If we burn all the trees here, what will happen to the demons? Zhang Tianshan turned his head and looked at Lin Fan. Sect leader, you are joking. This forest stretches far, one can't see the end. If we burn it all, the smoke would cover the sky. At that time, whether or not there is a forest would be the same to the demons. To Fong Poliu, young Master Lin's methods were really overbearing. He had never seen anyone burn the demon's nest. Suddenly, in the burning forest, a shrill roar suddenly came from it. Poochie! Ripples spread out from the forest. When the ripples covered the burning trees, they instantly extinguished the flames, leaving only the charred branches. Lin Fan frowned as he looked at those scenes. There were actually such strong demons that directly extinguished the flames. He had underestimated them. Those big demons didn't have the ability to use sound to extinguish the flames. Human, you're bullies. The voice reverberated. It spread out from the forest like an ocean, a series of furious roars. At the edge of the forest, many ruby-like red lights appeared. Those were the eyes of the demons. Liang Yongqi hid in fear. The demons had left a deep shadow in his heart, making him terrified. You aren't humans, so you aren't bullying me. Lin Fan shouted. Right, I forgot to introduce myself. I am the sect leader of the nearby Marshall Path Mountain. I am free, so I want to get to know all of you. He walked forwards. Zhou Zhongmao followed behind worriedly. To the demons, their way of getting to know each other was to burn their homes? Kiki, despicable humans. Rage points plus 66. Rage points plus 66. Rage points plus 88. Maybe because he didn't place the sin on them, which was why he had less rage points. However, it was not bad. When he was free, he could play with them. At this moment, the demons in the darkness retreated and opened up a path. The female demon walked over slowly. One couldn't see her body as she was suppressed by the shadows. However, she stared at Lin Fan in rage. Only the demons would take the initiative to mess with others. No one dared to mess with them. Rage points plus 222. He provided a wave of rage points as a form of greeting. Lin Fan stood there with a smile on his face. Today ends here. I will find you every day and play with you. The moment he said that, he turned around and left. Zhang Tianxian was confused. Kid, what did you mean by that? You had nothing to do, so you came to piss off the demons? No matter what, anyways, that was the feeling you gave him. There were no benefits to making the demons furious. In life, it was better to be safe. Being too intense would cause a negative effect. After returning, he had to have a good chat with the kid. He couldn't play like that. Didn't he see that the demons were angry? Chapter 169. That night, what happened in the day infuriated the demons. They were bullies. They didn't care about the demons at all. They surrounded Marshall Path Mountain, but the eye-piercing light made them uncomfortable. The demons roared. They didn't sleep in the middle of the night and just roared to disturb the people. Luckily, Marshall Path Mountain was tall enough. It was useless even if the demons roared loudly. They couldn't hear it clearly, and it was basically useless. The female Een Demon personally led the Een Demon army to Marshall Path Mountain to teach them an unforgettable lesson. Regretfully, the light that spread out at night made all the Een Demons uncomfortable. Even she hated the eye-piercing light. It would make her feel powerless and lose the ability to fight back. They know how to counter us. The female Een Demon said coldly. It was the same for Jiang City in the distance. It was covered by a giant light, blocking the Een Demons outside. The next day, the Een Demons fell into a deep sleep. Last night's operation didn't bring any problems to Marshall Path Mountain, but their determination wouldn't change. They had to let the despicable humans know how terrifying they were. Some Een Demons dug up the dirt and laid within asleep. Suddenly, a giant black shadow landed from the sky. As the trees blocked it, there weren't any changes. However, when the giant stone landed, it gave off a loud whistle that woke many Een Demons up. They were confused. Where did that sound come from? They didn't notice that there were humans around. Instantly, the tree branches were crushed, and a giant stone landed. With a loud explosion, it smashed into the ground and formed a giant hole. The few Een Demons that laid there were covered. The sunlight shone in and lit up the area. Instantly, the Een Demons were restless once more. Damn, the humans invaded. Those despicable humans harassed them in the day. Many Een Demons were furious. When the sunlight shone on them, white smoke rose up from their bodies. They felt powerless and rolled into the darkness before they slowly recovered. Xiao xiao. Just at that moment, flames slid down from the sky. Burning trees landed in the forest, causing large patches of trees to burn. F***ck your mother. The rage of Een Demons would only be used on some special matters, but now they were really angered. Who was so bold to actually treat them like that? Did they really want to die? It was just that the current sunlight was really disgusting. Outside, Lin Fan, Zhou Zhongmao, and Feng Poliu tossed burning trees into the forest. Zhang Tianshan didn't dare to imagine how furious the Een Demons would be. But he knew that from now on, Marshall Path Mountain and the Een Demons would be enemies to the death. Either you die, or I die. Make it burn more vigorously. Lin Fan looked up. This was the first time he had set fire to a forest. The feeling was indescribable. If this was on Earth, his hands would have been cuffed, and he would be squatting in jail. Come, let's go back. It was his habit to come here every day and set fire to it. It wasn't suitable to talk to the Een Demons now. Zhang Tianshan didn't understand what he was doing. There was really no need. Yuan Tianshu couldn't predict what Lin Fan was doing. Was he attracting enemies from Marshall Path Mountain and causing some problems for Marshall Path Mountain? When they left, a furious voice spread out from the forest. The female Een Demon was furious. She woke up from her slumber and extinguished the flames to search for the despicable human. When he arrived at the edge of the forest, he saw the backs of those people leaving. She hollered in rage. Despicable human, I will pluck off your head. Rage points plus 333. The female Een Demon hollered in rage, which showed how furious her heart was. The light on Marshall Path Mountain suppressed the Een Demons. If not for that, they would have eaten up all the living beings on Marshall Path Mountain. King, these humans are so despicable. I want to fight them to the death. The big Een Demon knelt on the ground and said unwillingly. They were sleeping well in the day, and the humans came to cause trouble. That was just too much. What was worse was that they had no idea and didn't know what to do. I will think of a way. A cold glow flashed in the female Een Demon's eyes. She totally hated Marshall Path Mountain. Damn Marshall Path Mountain. She didn't think of a way, but as the Een Demon King, even if she didn't have a way, she had to treat it as though she had a way to appease all the Een Demons. Sect leader, it isn't of much use if we do that every day. The Een Demon territory is huge, and we can't burn it all. Zhang Tianshan said. He wanted to persuade Lin Fan not to do such useless things. It was a waste of time, and it also increased the hatred between him and the Een Demons. You don't understand, Lin Fan replied. Zhang Tianshan was helpless. Wasn't that nonsense? He definitely didn't understand, but if he told him about the situation, then wouldn't he understand? But if he didn't say it, then who would understand? Of all the people present, no one would be able to understand. Lin Fan returned to the room and looked at his gains from the small support system. Rage points, 18668. Slowly accumulating was a good start. Close to 20,000 rage points. Although it wasn't a lot, the feeling of increasing every day made him feel really good. He gave himself a good plan. Jiang City was considered a backup fund. As long as the merchants didn't offend him, then he wouldn't offend them. After all, going against money wasn't a wise choice. At the current stage, he just needed to play with the Een demons. He didn't understand why the Een demons made their base so close to Marshall Path Mountain. Needless to say, he could find an explanation for the Een demons that they didn't care about Marshall Path Mountain and purposely came to provoke them. If the Een demons found out, they would scold him. "You bastard, provoke your sister." That night, the female Een demon appeared at the foot of Marshall Path Mountain alone. She raised her head and looked at Marshall Path Mountain to think of a way. However, after looking for a long time, she didn't find any. It was just so unbreakable. Which bastard did it to actually target the Een demons like that? Achoo! Zhang Tianshan rubbed his nose. Who wouldn't sleep in the middle of the night, thinking about his virgin body? How evil. He was a little afraid. He was thinking about whether or not Lin Fan was going to go tomorrow. Why did he have to make things so awkward with the Een demons? Actually, he could negotiate with the Een demons. "Deputy Sect Leader, are you asleep?" A voice spread out from outside. It was Liang Yongqi. He came here to chat with Zhang Tianshan. For some reason, he felt like he was given a sense of honor. "Come in," Zhang Tianshan replied. Why did this kid come to find him in the middle of the night? His evaluation of Liang Yongqi was okay. Although this kid wasn't confident enough and his mentality was collapsing, under his teachings he slowly changed. Now that he was the grand disciple, apart from the sect leader and deputy sect leader, he had the most power. Deputy sect leader, recently I feel like my heart isn't calm. I have an indescribable feeling. Liang Yongqi set out the doubts in his heart. He hoped that he could find some clues. Zhang Tianshan looked at Liang Yongqi. This kid wasn't simple. Even he didn't understand what he was saying. "You aren't calm. I am too. That is because the burden on your body is too heavy. Now you are the grand disciple. You have been given a sacred mission." Zhang Tianshan said. Liang Yongqi opened his mouth. "But there are only a few of us. I'm the grand disciple. Yuan Tianchu is the second. I can't control anyone." Zhang Tianshan smiled. "It doesn't matter who you can't control, but you have to remember that you are the grand disciple. Go back and think about it. That is all I can say to you." Liang Yongqi wanted to say something, but stopped. He then left. He felt that deputy sect leader's words made sense, but he also felt that it wasn't right. The next day, Honglong, the Een demon nest was attacked once more. F***CK me. The Een demons were about to collapse. Was there a need to do that? They came to disturb them in the day while they were asleep, either throwing stones or setting them on fire. The Een demons were furious and roared out in rage. "I'm going to fight this human to the death. Don't be rash, it is daytime. My butt is being burned, come and save me." The humans' actions infuriated the Een demons. If it was nighttime, they would fight to the death with the human. However, it was daytime, and the despicable human knew that the sunlight countered them, so they acted arrogantly outside the forest. They could step out of the forest, and in just a blink of an eye, they would be able to capture the despicable human outside. However, it was all for nothing. Such a short distance was like crossing a mountain for them. The female Een demon woke up from her sleep. Her face was dark and terrifying. The surrounding Een demons retreated and followed at the sides. "Human, what do you want?" The female Een demon appeared at the edge of the forest and said in rage. She felt that this human was sick. To disturb the Een demons in the day, he really had the ability. When she asked this question, she was greeted by a burning branch of a tree. The tree was really quick, the sharp end locked onto her. When the tree got close to the female Een demon, there was a ripple in front of her, and the tree exploded. "Human, don't test my patience. If you have balls, then come in and fight." The female Een demon raged. Rage points plus 444. Her rage towards this human had reached a certain level. It had been like this for several days. Even if they were demons, they couldn't take such provocation. It was just that she could even say such shameless words. It meant that the demons weren't dumb. The small demons crawled and stared at Lin Fan aggressively. They also provided him with rage points. Their king's words made sense. Human, if you have balls, then come in and see how we will teach you a lesson. Idiot, Lin Fan replied. He opened his fingers, and the tree beside him floated in the air. He waved his arm, and with a shio, the tree broke through the air. Poochie! The tree scattered and pierced through many demons, pinning them to the tree. His actions caused many demons to be furious. You dare to attack us in front of our king. You really are sick of living. Rage points you. The female demon was so furious that her chest moved up and down. Damn, despicable human. I really wish I could end your little life with my own hands. Zhang Tianxian sighed. Why was there a need? Was the current situation a war of words? If that was the case, then please continue. Chapter 170. Lin Fan couldn't step into the forest. The demons didn't dare to come out. However, they could toss things into the forest, move the stones, and smash them. Lin Fan sat there and instructed Cousin and Feng Poliu to toss things in. He noticed that rage points were increasing. The demons were furious. That feeling was great. On average, each demon gave more rage points than the previous few times. Maybe it was because of the many times that the demons were totally furious. If Lin Fan entered the forest, he didn't even need to say a word, and the demons would pounce over and rip him into pieces. Zhou Zhongmao was very obedient and did whatever his cousin said. Feng Poliu was helpless. Was this the outcome of taking 100 silver a month? Doing hard labor for nothing. This money was so hard to take. Apart from Lin Fan himself, no one else knew the reason for his actions. To them, wasn't he sick in the head? What damage could he do to the demons? If it wasn't a special element, one wouldn't be able to hurt them at all. If someone asked him, he would tell them that he needed to hurt their hearts. Ah, save me. I am being smashed flat. Many demons were smashed by the stones. Although the attacks had no effect on them, they still had to shout. They were the little brothers. If they didn't shout in a more tragic manner, how would the king feel heartache for them? Zhou Zhongmao and the others moved the stones quickly. The surrounding stones were all moved away, leaving many holes in the ground. Human, you're a bully. The female demon's body shook. She waved her arms, and the stones in the forest floated up and struck outwards. Zhou Zhongmao and Feng Poliu fought back, blocking the stones and tossing them back. Pung, pung, pung. Those small demons were about to cry. They were in a tragic state. Their sh*t was about to be smashed out. The stone that smashed them was lifted by the king. Not long later, the stones outside flew in and smashed them onto the ground. To and fro. They just tossed stones at one another. Lin Fan stood with his arms behind his back, looking calmly at everything that happened. He wasn't strong enough. If he was strong, he would have directly entered the forest, and naturally such a thing wouldn't have happened. He noticed that the demon was a female. Her body was not bad. It was like she was wearing black leather pants. Looking at it with an abnormal gaze, this female demon's face was not bad. But from a normal perspective, it was difficult to obtain. Pooh! How could he have such thoughts? It was simply too disgusting. The current situation was like everyone was spitting at the same time. You spit here, I spit there. This was a battle of words. The rage points slowly increased. Demon, if you want to fight, then come out and fight one-on-one. Or I can fight all of you alone. I think I will be gentle to all of you. Lin Fan said. He was just that domineering. In broad daylight, he challenged the demons alone, and he wouldn't go back on his words. The female demon's chest moved up and down. She stared at Lin Fan with a devilish gaze. Why don't you come in? Kiki, what a waste. I am allergic to the forest. I heard that you demons were really strong, but it seems like that. I will stand here and wait for you to challenge me, or prove to me how strong you demons are. Why? Don't you have the guts? Lin Fan crossed his arms in front of his chest and said calmly. All of this was bullshit, and allergic to the forest. Truthfully speaking, he was afraid, but the Een demons weren't any better. If they had the balls, then come out. But if they didn't, they were afraid of being beaten up by him. Nonsense, the female Een demon said fiercely. She didn't expect that there was actually a human who could be so shameless. His shamelessness had exceeded the heavens. Zhang Tianshan agreed with those words. Kid Lin was indeed spouting nonsense. He pitted the Een demons. To actually face such a person, it was tough on them. Yuan Tianshu witnessed everything and knew that apart from Lin Fan being shrewd, he was also a despicable person. At that moment, the female Een's demon raised her hand and told them to retreat into the depths of the forest. Her eyes stared right at Lin Fan, like she wanted to remember Lin Fan in her heart. Human, wait and see. I have already remembered you. You will be chased by us endlessly. If you have the ability, then don't leave Marshall Path Mountain. If not, it will be your death anniversary. The female Een demon's voice was really dark and sunken. She was totally infuriated by Lin Fan's actions. She wouldn't stop until one of them died, after which the Een demons retreated like a wave and slowly hid into the darkness. Don't go. Seeing the Een demons retreat, Lin Fan couldn't sit still and ran towards the forest. It wasn't time yet, and it was such a waste to leave just like that. He stepped to the edge of the forest. Oi, I am here. Where are all of you? Lin Fan said. The female Een demon looked at Lin Fan. Even if he stepped to the edge of the forest, she didn't want to do anything useless. However, she couldn't just let it go like that. Instantly, the female Een demon stepped forwards and left a deep footprint on the ground. Then, a mound rose up like there was something hidden in it and swiftly struck towards Lin Fan. Lin Fan wasn't prepared to fight the female Een demon in the forest. That would be asking to die. He took a step back, out of the forest. At that moment, the mound broke and dissipated. Human, I understand how despicable you are. I hope that when you face me at night, you can still maintain your calmness. Kiki, the female Een's demon laughed coldly and slowly hid into the darkness. So boring. Lin Fan shook his head and felt really regretful. Een demons were a good existence. As for offending them, that didn't exist, even if he didn't. In the future, if he faced them at night, they would become food for the Een demons. His gains today were decent. However, with so many Een demons, the rage points increase was a little too little. However, he had no choice. There were too few Een demons that could see him at the edge of the forest. Many of them hid behind and didn't remember what he looked like. What a waste. If there wasn't a forest and the Een demons were exposed to the sunlight, then he would beat up all of them. That rage points would be great. What a waste. Some things were good to think about, but there was still a long way to go. Let's go back. Lin Fan waved his hands and brought all of Marshall Path Mountain's combat strength to leave this place. The Een demons would return. Marshall Path Mountain. Lin Fan looked at the small support system. Rage points, 51912. Not bad. Lin Fan smiled. To be able to slowly raise his strength while enjoying it, that was the happiest time in his life. He went to Cousin to ask for the Big Dipper Silence Palm cultivation technique. He had seen Cousin use it before. This palm technique was really strong, and its effects were really eye-catching. After he used it, the effects were really shocking. Blade technique, palm technique, finger technique, but he lacked fist and leg techniques. If he had a chance, he would try it out. Haze. It was really fragrant. When he just came to this world, he didn't want to do anything, just eat, drink, poop, and shake his arms. Now, there was a slight change. Apart from enjoying, he also cultivated some cultivation techniques to raise his strength. People who knew how to enjoy and fight were perverted and couldn't be offended. Within the room, adding points, improving. Physique slowly jumped from 300. He wasn't in a rush to raise it to Marshall Path Grade 11. He wanted to see whether or not any accidents would happen during the process. CSI. At that moment, white steam spread out from his body. At the start, there wasn't any, but suddenly it exploded out. This scene scared Lin Fan a little, but shortly after, he heaved a sigh of relief. He didn't feel any pain, different from the last time. Poochie. A low sound rang out. He looked into his body. The meridians in his body were shaking, and there was a mysterious power flowing about. That power was like lightning, stimulating each meridian in his body and also his flesh and blood. As his physique continued to increase, the changes became more and more obvious. A swelling feeling. What a filling feeling. He felt like his body was about to become bigger. That feeling of being stuffed to the brim, one couldn't even imagine it. Martial Path, grade 12. But the changes in his body made him feel like grade 12 wasn't the limit. He thought back to his father's introverted feeling. He was definitely ahead of many people. Thinking about it, it made sense. If not, he definitely wouldn't have been able to develop such an expert like Cousin. For Cousin to reach Martial Path grade 9 at such an age, he was already a genius amongst geniuses. That was just 10 years of time. Instantly, when physique rose to 330, his physique cultivation reached Martial Path grade 11. Each pore on his body opened up and spat out white steam. The steam was really hot and thick, not dissipating for a long time. Amazing. I feel like my body is filled with power, and there's also a mysterious feeling. Raising 1 point now required 500 rage points. It was increasing steadily, increasing internal strength. Problems slowly appeared in his body. Heart cultivation realm wasn't high enough. Raise Purple Sun 4 Saint Scripture. Raise heart cultivation. Now, Purple Sun 4 Saint Scripture had reached grade 14, and each increase required 2,000 rage points. Purple Sun 4 Saint Scripture, grade 15. Purple Sun 4 Saint Scripture, grade 25, internal strength, 330, Martial Path, grade 11. The internal strength in his body quickly spun. This was the main internal strength, not the special internal strength cultivated by cultivation techniques. This main internal strength concerned the strength of one's moves. Lin Fan was shocked. What I'm cultivating now is considered the Martial Path. Who knows what it will be like when I raise it? He was really curious. He felt that the mysteriousness of this path was even more attractive than the mysteriousness of the Yin demons. He was seriously cultivating now. It wasn't easy, and it was worth praising. Who? He took out a deep breath, and a purple energy was spat out from his mouth. This was the shocking change in internal strength after raising Purple Sun 4 Saint Scripture to grade 25. With the small support system, raising Martial Path realm was indeed really quick. However, for some reason, he felt that it was so quick that it terrified him. That night, Jiang City Gate. Horse hooves sounded in the distance. Very quickly, a bunch of people arrived at Jiang City. The male at the head raised his head. His face was cold and sunken. Jiang City. Chapter 171. The next morning, before Lin Fan woke up, the door was pushed open. Gozi hurried in with a panicked expression. Not good, young master. There's a serious murder case in Jiang City, and many people died. The commoners are all at Martial Path Mountain and hope that young master can take a look. Why did people die again? Lin Fan was helpless. What was going on? Was he a jinx that would cause people to die wherever he went? That was impossible. He was a lucky star. A while ago, many people died because of the Yin demon incident. Now, that more people died, that didn't make sense. Gozi shook his head. I don't know. They didn't say the exact situation, but looking at their expressions, it seems serious. Lin Fan hurriedly put on his clothes, washed up, and walked out immediately. Martial Path Mountain entrance. Many commoners surrounded there. When they saw Lin Fan, they all cried out in fear. Sect leader Lin, go take a look. Something huge happened in the city. That's right, it is tragic, really tragic. While they died so tragically. The commoners' emotions fluctuated like they were so shocked by such a scene that they didn't know what to say. Lin Fan didn't ask them about the exact situation. With the current situation, even if he asked, he wouldn't be able to get anything out of them. It was best if he personally took a look. More people died? That was a little problematic. Yin demons couldn't enter the city, so how could they kill commoners? As for 9 Bug Gang, it was impossible. Those people came to find things and weren't killing maniacs. Unless they were perverted and killed innocent people, there was no reason for them to do so. Jiang City. When he stepped into the city, he felt that the atmosphere was a little suppressed. It felt like dirty water was stuck to his heart, making it hard to breathe and disgusting. He didn't have such a feeling in the past. Now that he had such a feeling, was it because his cultivation had risen to a certain level, which was why he had such a feeling toward disaster? Under the lead of the commoners, he arrived at the location. Chen Shengyao stood there with a solemn expression. Even if he wasn't willing to participate in these things that had nothing to do with him, but when he saw the corpses in each room, he felt like they were done by humans. Sect leader Lin. When Chen Shengyao saw Lin Fan, he ran over and said, "These people are too vicious. I feel like there are demons living in seclusion in Jiang City. Was this done by humans? Even I wouldn't be able to do that." The first shop. The deceased was a waiter. He had died a horrible death. His face was black, his chest was split open, and his organs were crushed. It was as if he had suffered some kind of torture, and his organs were slowly crushed before he died. Lin Fan looked at it for a while. He didn't see any details, but he came to the conclusion that it was indeed very cruel. After that, he walked into the second shop. The strong smell of blood wafted over. More people had died, a family of 3. The man hung from the beam of the roof with a rope around his neck. His eyes were wide open, and his expression was one of anger. It looked like he was slowly losing his breath in anger. Under normal circumstances, if someone was strangled to death, they would not have such an expression. Instead, it would be more of a struggle. When he saw what happened next, he understood why the man was so angry even though he was being strangled to death. There were 2 naked female corpses lying on the ground. One of the corpses seemed to be only 11 or 12 years old, still a child. And before they died, they suffered inhuman torture lying on the chairs. There were 5 bloody holes on each side of their shoulders like someone was pressing down on them, fingers piercing into their shoulders. At the same time, there were many deep wounds on their backs, like they were scratched by sharp claws. Lin Fan had never seen such a scene before. This was a huge blow to his heart. "Beast, you dog, I will definitely pull you out." Lin Fan's expression became solemn and serious. He didn't have the mindset of watching show like before. Killing people wouldn't make one angry. He came to this world and understood that if you didn't kill me, then I would kill you. But what he was angry about was that they didn't even let off a child, and even did that to her, damn it. Ugh. Liang Yongqi couldn't help but vomit. Damn it. He saw such a scene in the morning, and his heart suffered 10,000 damage. Which bastard was so sick in the head? If he had balls, then step out, he would smash his head. Zhou Zhou had killed many bandits and was used to such scenes. Feng Poliu frowned. This sick method, this disgusting killing method, it was a little familiar. Do you know who it is? Lin Fan saw Feng Poliu frown like he was in deep thought and asked. Feng Poliu said, "I have some idea, but I'm not sure who it is. However, it has something to do with 9 Bug Gang." Lin Fan didn't continue to ask, heading to the other shops to take a look. Basically, they all died badly. Those who were hung on the roof suffered the least physical injuries, but their souls were in more pain than anyone else. This place has become dangerous. Yuan Tianchu felt that things were a little complicated. Too many things happened in Jiang City recently. When he was in U City, such a situation had never happened before. Now that he left U City and came to Jiang City, these people died one after another. It was just too weird. Someone definitely attracted them over. He looked towards Lin Fan. Naturally, he was the one who attracted them over. City Tea House. There was only one table on the second floor. The other tables had unfinished tea, but there was no one there. Ed, those people are really stubborn. They actually didn't say anything. The person who spoke was from 9 Bug Gang. He looked really fierce. Along with Head Su, there were 6 of them. They were all top experts in 9 Bug Gang. It isn't that they don't want to say, but they don't know anything. Head Su held a teacup and looked coldly at Jiang City. When the gang members heard this, they shuddered. Head Su was really vicious. Since he knew, he still killed them one by one. Head Su said coldly, I am in a bad mood, so I can't stop killing. I can only continue to kill. If I can't find it, then I will continue. Even if I kill everyone in Jiang City, I will find it. Head Su is right. The gang members sucked up to him. Head Su was too murderous. Of course, compared to the head, they were no weaker. They killed those who needed to be killed, tortured those who needed to be tortured, and stripped those who needed to be naked. Nine Bug Gang was their backing. When they were outside, they didn't need to be afraid of anyone. Crime scene. Lin Fan saw the tragic situation in all the shops. He didn't want to say anything more. It was really tragic. These people shouldn't have died. They were just normal civilians. Young Master Chun, come over. Lin Fan waved his hands. Chen Xingyao was called a hero by the commoners. He really couldn't take it anymore. Although he killed people before, he wasn't so sick in the head. Sect leader Lin, do you have any instructions? Chen Xingyao asked. In the current Jiang City, he dared to offend anyone but Lin Fan. His life was in his hands, and whether or not he could live depended on his medicine. Lin Fan said softly, don't tell others that I said it. Find some people to spread the news. Just say that Marshall Path Mountain has bugs. Just that? Chen Xingyao thought that it was something serious and was prepared to risk his life. Who knew that it was so simple? Too simple. Lin Fan nodded his head. Chen Xingyao patted his chest and guaranteed, don't worry, leave it to me. When Zhang Tianshan heard Lin Fan say all that, he was stunned. Was the kid so smart? He was actually able to think of such a lousy idea. Wasn't that just telling others that 9 Bug Gang stuff was on Marshall Path Mountain? Head Su led the gang members to lead their horses and walk around the city. They weren't strolling around, but searching for clues. Suddenly, his ears twitched and a voice spread out. Do you know? There are bugs on Marshall Path Mountain. They are really weird. I have never seen one in my life. Is that true? Of course, I personally saw it. How can there be such weird bugs in the world? How would I know? Maybe they mutated. A few commoners talked about the gossip they heard. Wherever there were many people, there would be people talking about this matter. Casting a wide net to search for people, what a good method. Chen Xingyao was really quick at doing things. Not long after Lin Fan instructed him, he told Manager Yu to spread the news. When Head Su heard that, he stopped and was in deep thought. Marshall Path Mountain. Bugs? This was what he was looking for. Head Su walked towards the commoners who were chatting. Where is Marshall Path Mountain? You're not from here, right? The commoners looked at Head Su and asked, why? Is there a problem? Head Su asked. In his heart, he was a little unhappy. He asked where they were, so why did they speak so much nonsense? The commoners shook their heads. No, Marshall Path Mountain is on that mountain, not far from the city. The main reason is that Marshall Path Mountain was just formed, and there are only 6 people, including the sect leader. I thought that you all came to join Marshall Path Mountain. Oh, Head Su smiled and nodded his head like he knew some unspeakable secrets. Thank you. When he learned that the bugs were in the hands of the sect, he was thinking about whether or not they had enough manpower. Who knew that it was a newly formed sect? 6 people? Kiki. Such a simple mission, and those few pieces of trash could even fail. They were just trash. Of course. He thought about that. So naturally he asked how old the Marshall Path Mountain sect leader was. He found out that he was a young man, just over 20. Then what did he have to worry about? Even if he was a genius, how strong could he be at such a young age? Even if he was Marshall Path Grade 8 or Grade 9. So what? He was just trash. Head, where are we going now? The gang members asked. Head Su said, let's go. Follow me to Marshall Path Mountain to find the thing and then return to the gang. The loss of the gang treasure had nothing to do with him. But the person guarding it was his friend's son, and he was a nephew. Because of that, he was the scapegoat. Head Su brought the 5 gang members and left the city. Of course, naturally, he wasn't arrogant, but the reality was right there. No matter how he thought about it, he was unable to imagine how strong a young man could be. But truthfully, the young man that he looked down on became stronger recently. He came late. Chapter 172. 6 horses left Jiang City and galloped towards Marshall Path Mountain. Head Su was eager to complete the mission and pass the treasure to the gang leader. 9 Bug Gang's internal system was really strict. He might be ahead, but if he made a mistake, the punishment he would face would be really terrifying. Such an environment caused the hearts of the 9 Bug Gang members to change greatly. They slowly became perverted. Very quickly, a mountain peak appeared in his sight. Head, Marshall Path Mountain is in front. I didn't expect that there would be a sect around this small Jiang city. Why isn't there a record of this sect in our gang's power distribution? A member asked. Do you even need to think about it? It is definitely a weak sect. It doesn't matter. Head Su said calmly. Marshall Path Mountain was just formed and only 6 people. So how would it be recorded? A sect with 6 people, what a joke. Such a small sect dares to offend our 9 Bug Gang. They really don't know their place. Let's go. Let's teach them a lesson. Hualulu. Just at that moment, the 9 Bug Gang members pulled the ropes and someone appeared in front of them. Lin Fan placed his hands on the handle. The sheath pressed against the ground. He looked forwards and stood at the entrance of Marshall Path Mountain. I have waited for you for a long time, Lin Fan said. Head Su pointed at Lin Fan and said fiercely, Who are you? Lin Fan said, Marshall Path Mountain sect leader. Ha ha ha. When he said that he was the Marshall Path Mountain sect leader, everyone laughed. To them, they had never seen such a young sect leader. The 6 of them got off their horses and walked towards Lin Fan. Instantly, a fierce aura spread out from their bodies and pounced towards Lin Fan. Head Su sized up Lin Fan and didn't see anything special about him. He was just a normal young man who was confident and arrogant enough. Just you alone? Where are the others from Marshall Path Mountain? Head Su asked. Instantly, Zhou Zhongmao and the others walked out from the side. Cousin, let me do it, Zhou Zhongmao said. He looked solemnly at Head Su. Out of the 6 of them, the one in front of him gave him the most danger. He could deal with the others. No need, I'll do it today, Lin Fan replied. In his heart, he wasn't very happy. There was a lump of anger stuck in his chest. If he didn't vent out, he wouldn't be able to calm down. These bastards were so ruthless. They didn't even let off such a cute little sister. That was against the law, and they would have to spend the rest of their lives in jail. If the law could not uphold justice in his mind, then he would use his own hands to end their evil. It really is them. Feng Poliu squinted. When he saw Head Su, he recalled. Even if he had left Insect Valley for a long time, he still understood Insect Valley's subsidiary power, 9 Bug Gang. They were the only ones who could be so ruthless. It really shouldn't be like this. It had changed. It had changed too much. Lin Fan raised his saber and walked towards the 6 of them. As he walked, he said, You guys attacked ordinary citizens. Have you never thought that one day you would also suffer extremely cruel torture? The 9 Bug Gang members were stunned, and then they laughed out loud. One of the gang members, who was wearing a pair of metal claw gloves, walked out while laughing wildly. You're really arrogant, brat. How dare you talk to us like that? What? You want to be a hero? Let me tell you, it really felt good last night. The Jiang City women are so cute, especially that brat, that feeling. Damn, I don't know, I really don't know. Ed, let me deal with this kid. Look carefully, I will rip off his flesh piece by piece and turn it into bacon. Kid, remember, the one who killed you is 9 Bug Gang's Wang Tailong. The moment he said that, Wang Tielong's claws rubbed, sparks flew, and there was an ear-piercing sound. Thick internal strength waves spread out from his body, and with a pung, he disappeared from spot. He was an expert. He was indeed an expert, be it speed or internal strength. He had reached the level of an expert. Instantly, a person appeared beside Lin Fan. He raised his claws and was about to grab him. However, just as he was about to touch him, he disappeared, leaving behind a speck of dust. Pung, pung. Each time he moved, there would be a low explosion. Lin Fan stood there calmly, not moving at all. He didn't even blink. Shua. Wang Tailong appeared with a teasing smile on his face. Kid, I wanted to deal with you right away, but I realized that it was too easy. Did you feel like you were on the verge of death? Lin Fan didn't say anything. What nonsense was he saying? He just wanted to kill these people. He wanted to kill them when they were at their most excited. Are you so frightened that you can't speak? What a pitiful kid, huh? Wang Tailong laughed like a pervert. His expression was vicious and disgusting. Especially those eyes that looked like they were about to pop out. It made one feel uncomfortable. Suddenly, Wang Tailong retracted his smile and said solemnly, "It is time to end this." Pung. Suddenly, he disappeared again. This time, he was going to dig out the other party's heart soundlessly and let him see what it looked like with his own eyes. Other people might not be able to do such a thing, but he could. That was because his glove was sharp enough. Kid die. Wang Tailong appeared in front of Lin Fan, his sharp claws clawing towards Lin Fan's chest. Seeing that the kid didn't react at all, he knew that he was terrified. Kung! The sharp claws stabbed into Lin Fan's skin, but there wasn't a scene of blood splattering. There was also no sound of flesh tearing. Instead, there was an ear-piercing sound of metal clashing. What? Wang Tielong's expression changed, and his pupils constricted. He wanted to retreat, but it was too late. Pata! Lin Fan raised his hand and grabbed the sharp claws, looking at him coldly. You killed that family of 3, right? Lin Fan asked. Kachi! Kachi! Lin Fan exerted strength in his palm, and the sound of something breaking could be heard. The metal glove was deformed, and the 5 fingers inside the glove were crushed. Wang Tailong screamed. Pain! It was really painful. Let go, you let go. Lin Fan smiled and used even more strength. There was a poochie sound. The iron claw shattered, and the shrapnel fell along with flesh and blood. One of Wang Tielong's hands deformed. It was a bloody mess, and one couldn't tell that it was a hand anymore. Lin Fan raised his hand and smacked toward his head. Pung! His palm was really quick. When it smashed into his head, an energy wave spread out. Wang Tielong's head tilted to the left. Lin Fan raised his left hand and smacked down. The strong impact caused the internal structure of his brain to shift. Poochie! Wang Tailong spat out fresh blood. Blood flowed out from his nose and eyes. Cousin, smash his bones. I want all his bones to shatter one by one. At the same time, I want him to live. Can you do that? Lin Fan grabbed Wang Tailong and tossed him in front of Cousin. Yes. Zhou Zhongmao nodded his head. He noticed that Cousin was really angry and didn't want to say much to others. He just needed to complete Cousin's instructions. Papa! Zhou Zhongmao raised his hand and hit a few acupoints on Wang Tielong's body. He started from his toes and pinched them one by one. Kachi! Kachi! That was the sound of bones breaking. Cousin said that each bone made 206 bones. Wang Tailong, who was half dead, cried out. He was tortured by broken bones. You... Head Su looked at Lin Fan in shock. He didn't expect Wang Tailong to actually lose. Rage points plus 555. Rage points plus 444. Lin Fan didn't care about these rage points. The rage points of these people made him feel disgusted. I didn't expect you to have some ability. Head Su's face was cold. He had underestimated him. Lin Fan pulled out his blade and looked at him coldly. I am lazy to play with all of you. I will just chop all of you to death. Don't speak such useless nonsense to me. Kung. He then tossed the blade sheath to the side. These fellows were just too despicable. He couldn't take it. People who were weaker than demons didn't have the right to get his recognition. The moment he said that, at that moment, Head Su brought the remaining 4 gang members and charged towards Lin Fan. Cousin, Zhou Zhongmao raised his head. He was a little nervous. Nothing could happen to him. However, he believed that Cousin wouldn't do something he had no confidence in. Pung, Pung. Head Su was very strong, but the other 4 sect members were not weak either. Kid, you are really confident, but in the end, you won't be able to escape death. Head Su hollered. His right arm was covered in a layer of black bugs as he slapped out. Hong. He swung the back of his saber horizontally, blocking these bugs. However, following that, 4 gang members charged over with swift and fierce attacks. Today is the anniversary of your death. These people were all vicious people. Most of the cultivation techniques they cultivated were really terrifying. Pung. Not long later, Lin Fan retreated and stared coldly at the five of them. He was slowly falling into a disadvantage. Kid, I have to admit that you are strong, but you don't have the ability to survive from our hands. Head Su said. Hee hee. Lin Fan smiled and then raised his head. Is that so? I thought that I could suppress all of you with my internal strength cultivation, but it seems like I thought too much. Then, I hope that you can hold on longer. The moment he said that, Lin Fan's aura changed. And Head Su was shocked. He noticed that this kid was different from before. Or rather, there was a huge difference. Physique rose to martial path grade 11. Did his strength increase? If that was the case, then he was just trash. Poochie. At that moment, he felt that all his pores opened up and a boiling white mist spat out. Lin Fan hollered. His entire body seemed to have grown taller. His muscles swelled. It wasn't a sudden increase, but each piece of muscle became tighter. They contained shocking strength, and a fierce aura surged out. It was really shocking and actually made one feel afraid. This wasn't the end. Internal strength boiled and passed through his skin. It gave off an endless amount of mist like the mist was being burned. The blade in his hand was slowly covered by a layer of purple internal strength. Internal and external cultivation going all out. My hands have never been stained with life, but for all of you, I will break that rule. P.S. Thank you, cute, kind, lively, beautiful, and fairy-like Sophia Raubing, Alliance Leader. Chapter 173. This aura. For some reason, Head Su took a step back, and he was filled with terror. He sensed it. His strength was much more terrifying than before. Lin Fan's lips curled up. With a pung, he disappeared from the spot and appeared in front of a gang member. He charged over with a gust of wind, causing the hair of the gang member to flutter. The gang member held an iron chain and raised his head in terror. He looked at the kid who was taller than him. For some reason, he panicked a little. Lin Fan raised the blade in his hand. Internal strength injected in, and an eye-catching glow exploded out. What? The gang member holding the iron chain raised his weapon to block. But everything was a dream. When the saber fell, he felt an unbearable force coming at him. Poochie. His face flushed red, and he couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of fresh blood. No one saw whether or not Lin Fan landed. At that moment, Lin Fan turned around and looked at the stunned gang members. As for the person behind him, he was already dead. The gang member holding the iron chain was filled with questions. Why didn't the blade land? Is it because he is afraid of 9 Bug Gang? But when he had such a thought, he felt a slight pain in his head, as if something was splashing out. Poochie. The gang member's corpse was split into 2. When it fell to the ground, he actually saw 2 halves of himself. They just stared at one another, and slowly his mind disappeared as he fell into endless darkness. When the power of dual cultivation exploded out, the aura that it gave off wasn't something that normal people could block. His blade was really quick. It was so quick that one could see 2 halves of themselves. It could even allow the brains that were sliced open to think about problems. Damn! Head Su hollered in rage. He didn't expect such a thing to happen. This kid was acting like a pig to eat a tiger. This was a sign that he had achieved great success in both external and internal martial arts. How was that possible? How old was he? How did he cultivate that? Lin Fan looked at them calmly. He slowly raised his blade and pointed it at Head Su. Apart from you, the few of them won't live for more than 3 seconds. What? The moment he said that, Lin Fan disappeared from the spot. Internal strength and stamina wouldn't be consumed, and each strike would give off a terrifying aura. Poochie, Poochie, Poochie. Head Su could see Lin Fan's figure clearly, but to the other 3, it was extremely difficult. They only felt that there was something terrifying moving around them. At this moment, Lin Fan appeared in front of Head Su. Now only the 2 of us are left. Headmaster Su was stunned. What do these words mean? But soon he knew what it meant. The bodies of the other 3 were separated, and large amounts of blood sprayed out. Even at the moment of their deaths, they did not understand what had happened. Amazing, truly amazing. Now I finally understand why you were so calm. It turns out that you were hiding something. Indeed, to have such strength at such a young age, it's natural for you to be arrogant. However, you've provoked someone you shouldn't have. Hetsu took a few steps back and pulled apart the distance between them. If you think you can deal with me with such strength, then you don't respect me, the whole head of 9-bug gang. Hetsu hollered. His expression became really vicious. Green veins appeared like there were many bugs crawling within. Insect Valley's technique, sucking bugs into the body to replace the blood, allowing one to explode with shocking potential. To dare cultivate such a technique with huge repercussions, you really are bold. As the most outstanding disciple of Insect Valley, Feng Poliu knew about their internal techniques like the back of his hand. The people of Insect Valley normally wouldn't cultivate this kind of technique. Only those who fought on the front lines for Insect Valley and could lose their lives at any moment would cultivate it without caring about the consequences. But don't say that. Even if there were repercussions, such a technique could still explode with shocking strength. Kid, you deserve to die. Hetsu hollered. He felt a power that he had never had in his body boiling. His blood was already boiling. He stepped forwards, and the ground cracked. Numerous small bugs flew out from his body, forming a black bug blade that slashed towards Lin Fan. Lin Fan raised his hand to counter. Two blades clashed. Thick internal strength clashed with one another, causing an energy wave to spread out. Hetsu hollered in rage. His aura became stronger. Each blade was about to take Lin Fan's life. His speed also became really quick. Lin Fan blocked. Basic blade technique, vengeful tiger blade technique, was raised to the returning to true level. His understanding of the blade was much better than anyone else. Not to mention, he also raised lightning blade 4 strokes to the highest realm. To Lin Fan, this was the first time he had fought a true battle. He couldn't feel any fatigue at all. He also couldn't feel his internal strength drying up. From start to now, there was no change at all. Slash! Lin Fan hollered. There were just too few people who cultivated internal and external to such a level. When the blade slashed down, it actually caused the air to shake, and there was a loud explosion. Hetsu was really mad, but at that moment, he raised his hand to block. Pung! He knelt on one knee, and the ground split open. A green vein on his face exploded. What flowed out wasn't blood but bugs, and they were still alive. What a heavy blade. Lin Fan's eyes were filled with coldness, a coldness without any emotions. It was like he was immersed in the joy of battle. Hetsu wanted to get up and fight back in rage. But all of a sudden, the saber, which was so fast that it could no longer be seen, fell again. Lin Fan looked down from above, waving his arms. There weren't any beautiful blade techniques, but internal strength caused the blade glow to become more eye-catching. External cultivation and internal cultivation combined. The strength that exploded out was shockingly terrifying. Pung! Hetsu took the blade head-on, and the ground cracked once more. It was a finger deeper than before. He couldn't stand up. Lin Fan didn't use any complicated blade techniques. It was just a simple blade that landed. However, this simple slash contained all of Lin Fan's strength. This kid, Feng Poliu, underestimated Lin Fan. He thought that this kid's strength was just so, but it was obvious that he underestimated him. The power in each blade didn't change. His control was just too strong. He didn't dare to imagine that each of Lin Fan's blades would be his strongest. Physique and internal strength supported him such that he didn't feel any consumption at all. Kacha! When that blade landed, the bug blade in Hetsu's hand started to crack, showing signs of collapsing. Stop! Stop right now. Hetsu couldn't support such crazy attacks. Damn, how thick was your internal strength and stamina? Each time you slashed out such a heavy blade, didn't you feel tired? Damn, he still slashed. Pung. The bug blade totally shattered, turning into numerous bugs that fell to the ground. Kid, enough. Don't go overboard. Hetsu saw that another blade was about to land, and he hollered in rage. Poochie! The saber slashed down, chopping down on his shoulder. Originally, it was going to chop off his arm, but his reaction was very fast. His 5 fingers grabbed the back of the saber, but even so, the saber still cut in, and a large amount of blood spurted out from the wound. Head Su panted. His face was ashen white. He lost in such a random and violent way. I am 9 Bug Gang's head. Killing me won't do you any good. Even if you don't think for yourself, you have to think for the Jiang City people behind you. Head Su spat out blood and said. His tone was filled with threat. Lin Fan released the blade. Head Su's face was filled with joy. He thought that Lin Fan wouldn't let go, but he really frightened him. However, what happened next filled him with disbelief. Lin Fan opened his fingers, grabbing Head Su's face and lifting him up. I don't like to fight, and I don't have a goal. I just want to enjoy my life. But now, because of your words, I have a goal. The moment he said that, Lin Fan hollered, pressing the ground with one palm. With a pong, his head smashed into the ground, giving out a low explosion. He slowly released his hand, his back facing him. Pata! Head Su's face was covered in blood. His eyes were filled with rage. He climbed up slowly, shaking his body. You pong! Lin Fan spun around and punched the other party's face. The strong impact sent the other party's head flying. Hong Long! Head Su's body fell. He failed. He lost in a total mess, even losing his life to Lin Fan. Who? Lin Fan heaved a sigh of relief. His furious heart slowly calmed down. Feels good, it really feels good. I can finally vent out my pent-up anger. His mentality recovered once more. These people were just too much. If they simply killed people, then forget it. Although they would still kill them, they wouldn't let them die so quickly. If they wanted to kill, then so be it. They even tortured an innocent little girl like that, right? He felt unjust for the little girl. To be able to do that to such a little girl, he was just sick in the head. Lin Fan walked beside his cousin, looking at the helper who was screaming helplessly. You haven't crushed his bones. No, if I crush too quickly, he might not be able to take it. Zhou Zhongmao said. It was this guy who hurt the little girl and her mother. Spare me. The helper opened his mouth and said weakly. Lin Fan looked at him in disdain. There is no need to crush. Then he raised his leg and stomped down, directly crushing his opponent's head. Decisive, without hesitation. This allowed Yuan Tianchu to see a different Lin Fan, giving him a deep lesson. So, this surnamed Lin person wasn't so friendly. Not only was he strong, but he was also really cruel. He felt a chill down his spine. Looking at Lin Fan crush his head, he actually felt a chill down his neck. Zhou Zhongmao wanted to attack, but he didn't let him. Instead, he wanted to attack himself. The information revealed within was worth thinking about. The more he thought about it, the more he felt. It was a little dangerous, like he was reminding some people who didn't know their place. Like me? Feng Poliu said softly, Young Master Lin, killing feels good for a moment, but what happens next will be a little complicated. Lin Fan smiled. Complicated? It isn't complicated. Killing feels good for a moment. I will continue to kill. 9 Bug Gang is enough for me to kill. P.S. Thank you, Yuko 233, DRK Dino, Saint Disciple 34 God Shield Battleships. This reader is really amazing. The 4 elders rewarded me. Thank you. P.S. Don't wait for me to update tonight. My brother is getting married in 2 days, and tonight is his singles night. I have to go eat. I didn't want to, but he told me that he invited many girls. As someone with good looks, I have to go. I was helpless, so I could only go. Chapter 174. Feng Polio looked at Lin Fan. This kid was a little arrogant. He actually said such words. He was still too young. He hadn't learned his lesson. Cousin, clean up the scene. These corpses are quite terrifying to leave here. It is a little scary. Feng Poliu, head to Jiang City to tell the people that the killer has been killed and there is no need to be afraid. After Lin Fan instructed, he didn't have much to do. Such a terrifying scene wasn't done by others. You were the one who did it. Lin Fan was totally at odds with 9 Bug Gang now. What was that saying? Either you die or I die. We wouldn't sit down to drink tea and talk about friendship. We would just have the urge to fight when we met. Hayes, he wanted to be a happy, rich family young master who knew that things would turn out like this. Broken vows, he really broke them. His hands had never been stained with blood before. Now that he was too angry, he killed these people. But one had to say that it felt really good when he slashed people. That feeling was something that one couldn't feel without personally doing it. Feng Poliu headed to Jiang City to tell the people that they were safe, that the killer had been killed, and that such a thing wouldn't happen again. When the people learned that the matter was solved, they were delighted. However, so many people died, and they felt a little sad. Too tragic. It was really tragic. They didn't expect such a cruel thing to happen in the world. When Chen Xingyao learned that the matter was over, he heaved a sigh of relief. He was nearly frightened to death. He was still the hero in the hearts of the people. When he faced things he couldn't solve, the people would find him. This was obviously pushing him to the heart of the storm. With his weak body, he wasn't even enough to fill the gaps between their teeth. These people were really despicable. He suspected whether or not they were doing this on purpose. If not, why would they let him charge forwards? Huang Born was in a good mood. He saw the potential of Marshall Path Mountain and the hope of them rising up. Of course, if he knew that Marshall Path Mountain was at odds with Nine Bug Gang, he wouldn't be able to sit still. However, that shouldn't be possible. He didn't know what Nine Bug Gang was and couldn't sense how terrifying they were. Zhu Xiang followed Lu Xian to King Wudong's territory to display his talents beside King Wudong. But unfortunately, Lu Xian didn't give him a chance at all, directly throwing him into the mines to dig for stones. After digging for many days, the opportunity finally came. He was selected by the army and left the stone mines. To Zhu Xiang, he had to leave the stone quarry. Otherwise, no matter how talented he was, he would never be able to make a name for himself. He was very lucky. During this period of time, he relied on his intelligence, talent, and eloquence to become the head of 100 people. But this wasn't his end. He wanted to climb higher, to climb to King Wudong's side and become a trusted aide. He wanted to become someone above everyone else. Even if this road was not easy to walk, even if his head was bleeding, he would never retreat. After leaving Yu City, he didn't think about turning back. At this moment, Zhu Xiang was training the soldiers in his hands when he saw a bunch of soldiers return. Their faces were filled with exhaustion and they were in a mess. Their bodies were covered in blood. He knew that these soldiers were going to exterminate bandits. These bandits often intercepted supplies, so they had to get rid of them. But looking at the current situation, it seemed like the suppression of the bandits had failed, and many people had died. My chance is here. He knew whether or not he could attract more attention. He had to do something that others couldn't, but he could. Continue training. Zhu Xiang turned around and walked towards the general. He was going to volunteer. Although some people would gossip about him, he didn't care. They were just jealous. If they had the balls, they would volunteer too. If they only knew how to talk and not do, then they would never get what they wanted. His goal was the same and wouldn't change. Yu City, Lin Wani would occasionally come to the border to check on the situation. Something had already happened, and the surrounding environment was slowly changing. Compared to before, the change wasn't too huge. But the slow change was enough to show that everything was going to be quick. Old Master, I can handle this. Old Wu followed behind and said. Lin Wani smiled. It is okay. I just came out to take a look in case anything happens. Then, he thought about Lin Fan and sighed. That brat left home and didn't even send a letter to talk about the recent situation. He really left home and didn't send any letters. Old Wu smiled. Old Master, young Master is definitely having a good time outside. He is having so much fun that he has forgotten about us. Moreover, with Zhou Mao by his side, he won't be bullied outside. He knew that Zhou Mao was trained by Old Master to protect young Master. Old Master had such a thought since decades ago. Maybe he expected young Master to leave Yu City. After all, if a war broke out, it would be too dangerous for young Master to stay in Yu City. Hayes, I made a mistake. Zhou Mao listens to his cousin too much and doesn't have his own thoughts at all. If that kid causes trouble outside and Zhou Mao cleans up for him, if he faces someone he can't offend, then they will be in trouble. Luckily, I gave Zhongmao a protective talisman that he can use in times of need. This protective talisman was really simple. It was for Zhongmao to say that his uncle was Lin Wani. Although he would still be beaten up, there was a high chance that he could survive. Lin Wani was really tired. Couldn't that kid work harder? More than 10 years of time had been wasted. Once gone, even if he worked hard, time wouldn't return. If he had the heart to work hard during these decades, he wouldn't be able to become a heaven-defying expert. At the very least, reaching grade 12 wouldn't be a problem. Don't think that he was bragging. Although it was a little difficult, it wasn't a big problem. He just had to pile all the good things on him. He just worked hard in the end. It was a little too late. He didn't have much time and energy. Suddenly, Lin Wani said towards the air, "So what if you come? Why hide? How old are you? Do you still like to hide and seek?" Old Wu found it weird. He didn't sense anyone around. That could only mean that the person was much stronger than him. The person who came was an expert. "Lin Wani, I still hate you so much." A voice came from afar. Then, a white-haired old man walked over. At first glance, there was nothing shocking about him. In fact, he even seemed to be trembling, as if he could collapse to the ground at any time, unable to move his hands and feet. It was City Su family old ancestor. Old Wu recognized him right away. Indeed, only such a person could make it so that he couldn't sense him. Old ancestor Su squinted his eyes and looked at Old Wu. "I didn't expect little friend Wu to become old. With your cultivation, it shouldn't be a problem for you to keep your looks. Why do you think that you look exactly the same as me?" Old Wu smiled and didn't say a word. He felt really annoyed deep down. This old fellow's words easily offended people and made him feel really annoyed. So what if he wanted to act old? What did that have to do with him? Lin Wani said calmly, "Okay, stop talking nonsense. Why did you come to Yu City?" He didn't have a good impression of old ancestor Su. After all, he was beaten up when he was young. Until now, he remembered it in his heart. Old ancestor Su touched his beard and smiled. "I didn't come here for anything important. I just came to take a look. Also, my granddaughter came to Yu City, and I heard that your son beat her up. When I heard that, I felt really embarrassed. Little Lin, did you tell your son to beat my granddaughter because you couldn't beat me?" "Nonsense." Lin Wani didn't give him a good expression. "I can't beat you? Why don't you take a look at yourself? How old are you? You were at your peak in the past, but now you are past it. I'm only at my peak now. If you're unhappy, let's fight. It has been a long time since I learned the Su family's techniques." Old Wu didn't have a good impression of the Su family. "Old master, forget it, forget it. How old is he? If we hurt him, the Su family will ask us for medical fees." Old Wu was the one who stopped the fight. He wouldn't let old master lose face and insult old ancestor Su a little. He had done such things for decades. He was familiar with it. Old ancestor Su looked at the barrier and said, "Soon, it really is soon. Another 20 years have passed. Who knows what will happen this time? Will it be as easy as before? I don't know if it will be easy or not, but your Su family has a high position in the imperial dynasty. So why didn't you care about King Wudong's rebellion?" Lin Wani said, "What kind of nonsense was that? The timing of King Wudong's rebellion wasn't right." Old ancestor Su stroked his beard and smiled. "Don't worry about this. Can a small conflict between brothers be considered a rebellion? That's just a little problem in the relationship between brothers. The current one has nothing better to do, so he hopes to play chess with his younger brother and make up." Lin Wani shook his head. "Forget it. I don't want to care. I have nothing to do, so I just do such things. Aren't they afraid that this small problem will become a huge problem?" Old ancestor Su thought about something and smiled. "Right. That person said that once the barrier is solved, he is prepared to marry a princess to your son. Don't you think that the emperor is generous? To marry a princess to your son means that he really values you." Lin Wani squinted his eyes and stared at old ancestor Su. "Are you serious?" Old ancestor Su smiled. "I don't know whether or not they will come, but that person has already decided. Consider it as giving you an answer and also giving you a way out to ensure that your Lin family won't end." Lin Wani stared at old ancestor Su and then nodded his head. "I understand and know what to do. Old ancestor Su walked to Lin Wani's side and patted his shoulder. You aren't cultured and you look just like that. I didn't expect you to be so popular. You really harmed my daughter. I really valued you and nearly became your father. Unfortunately, we weren't fated. Luli, that person appeared in Lin Wani's mind. He then tossed it aside. How could he think about such things? It was all in the past. Old ancestor Su smiled. Forget it. Even if you I don't want to become your father and have to clean up your mess. Old man, do you want to talk nicely? Or do you want to fight with me today? If you want, I will accompany you to the end. I want to see how much you have improved after so many years. Lin Wani was furious. This old man was still so despicable. He was no different from before. Father? Damn. Ha. Old ancestor Su smiled. Okay, I won't tease you anymore. It's not interesting at all. But remember, we can't lose you, city. I will leave and head to Jiang City to see your son. Who knows if he will recognize me as his grandfather. The moment he said that, old ancestor Su disappeared from his spot. Lin Wani nearly smacked him in rage. If that unfilial kid dared to recognize him, then he wouldn't. Land to an inch, he really cultivated it. Lin Wani muttered. This wasn't within the range of martial arts, but a true technique. Old Wu opened his mouth. Old master, why do I feel like this isn't simple? Lin Wani thought about it. Martial Path Mountain. A long period of time had passed since the 9-bug gang matter. Every day was really peaceful and blissful. Martial Path Mountain opened, and many commoners would come to ask when they would recruit disciples. They were strong. They were as strong as cows. Wait, talents that he hadn't seen before all popped up. They saw that Martial Path Mountain disciples could have a fixed salary and food and lodging were provided. Where else could they find such a life? Zhang Tianshan's heart hurt. From his point of view, these were all outstanding disciples to prepare. Look at that brother. His chest muscles were so developed. Look at that person. He did dozens of somersaults and didn't stop at all. That was true martial arts. If he was recruited to Martial Path Mountain, it would be a good thing. But he had no choice. He was only the deputy sect leader. Even if he wanted to do some things, he had to ask the sect leader for permission. His head hurt. His head hurt too much. Zhang Tianshan found Lin Fan, sect leader. Open your eyes and take a look. They're all top talents. If we bring them into Martial Path Mountain, we will be able to bring glory to the sect. Why not take them in as disciples? I have no money, Lin Fan said. Zhang Tianshan held his breath. He was lying. He actually said that he had no money. Huang Born invested a lot. Where did the money go? He had no choice. He rejected him just like that. He didn't know what to say. What a waste. It was such a waste. They were all good seedlings. Zhang Tianshan looked at Lin Fan and shook his head before leaving. He could only apologize to those people that their Martial Path Mountain didn't accept disciples. Lin Fan looked at Zhang Tianshan's back view. He actually wanted to recruit disciples. Did he feel like he had too much money to spend? The 9-headed bug in his arms felt really comfortable. Although Feng Poliu said that the bug was called 9 Demon, he still liked to call it 9-headed bug. Simple, clear. Feng Poliu couldn't stay in Martial Path Mountain anymore and would head to the city. Who knew what he was doing? When he wasn't there, Lin Fan would refresh points and feed the 9-headed bug some bug-controlling technique internal strength. He noticed that when he fed it internal strength, this fellow grew really quickly. It would also give out sounds that made one not want to communicate with it. Young master, someone is looking for you. Go Z came to inform. Lin Fan said, I don't know, but he said that he is a talent that every sect needs. He said that our Martial Path Mountain needs his help and wants to meet young master. He didn't understand why he was here. Anyway, he said so much, but he didn't understand much. Lin Fan thought about it. Since he had nothing to do now, he might as well take a look. Martial Path Mountain entrance. Ji Xiaojun sized up the newly formed sect. His overall evaluation was that it was average, devoid of people, dead energy, and didn't have the aura of a large sect. He had been in the pugilistic world for decades. One look, and he could see whether or not this sect had a future. But regretfully, when he first laid eyes on this sect, He was certain that this sect had no future. At this moment, he saw a young man walk over from the distance. He was definitely the sect leader of this sect. He ran over and said, "Hello, sect leader Lin. I am Ji Xiaojun. I heard that Marshall Path Mountain was formed, so I came from hundreds of miles away." "Hey, you are?" Lin Fan looked at him. He was a middle-aged man. His smile gave him a feeling that he had something to promote to Marshall Path Mountain. Ji Xiaojun smiled. "Sect leader Lin, I specialize in promoting sections. Just one look, and I know that Marshall Path Mountain isn't an ordinary sect. As long as we promote it well, in less than a year, we will be able to squeeze into a mid-tier sect. In 3, we will be able to enter a large sect. In 5, we will become a super sect. Good timing, good location, and good people. Standing at the peak of the mountains, we will have many achievements. But even good wine is afraid of deep alleys. If I promote it, I guarantee that numerous disciples will surge over from all directions to strengthen Marshall Path Mountain." That was a little too much. "What peak of the mountains? Apart from this mountain, go find another one for me to see." "No need," Lin Fan replied. So, he was just promoting it. He didn't want Marshall Path Mountain to be known by everyone. Every day, there would be many people joining the sect. That wasn't what he wanted. After all, he was just too amazing. If other people knew that the Marshall Path Mountain sect leader was so amazing, they would crazily try to squeeze in. "Sect leader Lin, I don't think you should reject. This is a huge benefit to any sect. Sect leader Lin, please believe my professional eyes. Marshall Path Mountain will definitely become the top choice for many people. I will use my brush and stories to promote Marshall Path Mountain. At least within these thousands of miles, I will let people remember Marshall Path Mountain." Ji Xiaojun said confidently. He took out a book from his bag. "Sect leader Lin, take a look at these cases. I did all of them. In a short 8 years, I helped 50 newly formed sects rise to mid-tier sections. You could take a look." To him, this was sect leader Lin doubting his professionalism. He thought that he was a liar. If he really thought that way, then he was wrong. Ji Xiaojun wasn't a normal person. He was a really talented person. "I'm not interested. Send him off." Lin Fan waved his hands. This was the opposite of what he wanted. How could he let him promote Marshall Path Mountain? It was too popular. Every day, people would come up and want to enter the sect. Wouldn't that be a huge headache? Ji Xiaojun wanted to say something, but seeing that sect leader Lin left, he was helpless. Why didn't he trust him? On the way down, Ji Xiaojun didn't give up. This was how it was. How could one succeed on the first try? During these few years, he could only find those newly formed sections. Not to mention those large sects. Not to mention meeting the sect leader. He couldn't even enter the gate. Wait. Just at that moment, Zhang Tianshan chased towards Ji Xiaojun. "You are?" Ji Xiaojun asked. Zhang Tianshan said, "I am Marshall Path Mountain Deputy Sect Leader Zhang Tianshan. I heard that you can promote this sect, right?" "Right, Marshall Path Mountain has just been formed and needs fresh blood. But if we don't promote it, how would people know? My existence is to help you solve these problems," Ji Xiaojun said. He wasn't lying and wasn't bragging. He was really in that line of work. Zhang Tianshan was tempted. He really wanted Marshall Path Mountain to be famous. This was his life's hope. "How much silver does it cost?" Zhang Tianshan asked. If it was too expensive, he wouldn't be able to take out the silver. Ji Xiaojun said, "I have a few choices here. One is the basic publicity. The cheapest is only 50 taels. The second is the intermediate publicity. This is a little expensive. It needs 200 taels. As for the advanced publicity, it needs 1,000 taels." "Ah, so expensive?" Zhang Tianshan's eyes opened wide. This was like robbing money. Ji Xiaojun said, "These aren't expensive. If you know my promotion method, you will know that it is worth it." "What method?" Zhang Tianshan asked. Needless to say, he could only choose basic promotion. Even choosing it made his heart hurt. It was really too expensive. But he cared more about Marshall Path Mountain than anything else. It was just silver. As long as Marshall Path Mountain could become famous, it was enough. "I can't say that. If I said it, then wouldn't you be able to do it?" Ji Xiaojun said. The profits in this line of work were huge. People referred to starting a business as opening a shop. Starting a business here was starting a sect. If they succeeded, they would earn a lot of money. If they failed, they would even lose their underwear. Deputy sect leader, what do you think? If you're worried, you can pay half first. In the future, if it is effective, you can pass the rest to me or continue to work together. Ji Xiaojun said. Zhang Tianshan was convinced. How do I believe that you won't lie to me? Ha! Deputy Sect Leader Zhang, as the Deputy Sect Leader of Martial Path Mountain. Naturally, you are a courageous person. If I really lie to you, at least it means that I have the courage to come to Martial Path Mountain to cheat. I think that you have the courage to believe me, right? Ji Xiaojun said. Zhang Tianshan thought about it. Why did he feel like this fellow's words made sense? He hesitated for a long while. Okay, I believe you. Zhang Tianshan chose to believe her. He had no choice. To spread the name of Martial Path Mountain, he had to pay some money. Although he was poor, but there were some things that he had to do even if he was poor. Ji Xiaojun received the silver and cupped his fists. Deputy Sect Leader Zhang, don't worry. Leave this to me. Just wait for my good news. In less than a month, everyone within 1,000 miles will know about Martial Path Mountain, and there will be many people coming to visit. Zhang Tianshan looked at Ji Xiaojun leave. For some reason, he was filled with anticipation. Hayes, Martial Path Mountain's flag needs me as the deputy sect leader to carry it. He felt that it wasn't easy for him. It wasn't easy at all. Just talking about those people. All of them were doing nothing, and he was the only one who could do anything. Chapter 175. Hallmaster Su personally went out to look for the valuables that were stolen from the gang. But so many days had passed. There was no news at all. This made the 9-Bug gang people curious. They didn't think that something had happened to Head Su. That was impossible. They knew Head Su's strength, and he was really strong, especially since he knew the special technique that Insect Valley passed down. When it exploded, the strength was really shocking. On the giant boat on the Fuzhou River, many of the gang members didn't dare to make any noise. The gang leader was angry and many people had died. They could only blame themselves for being unlucky. When the gang leader was angry, they offended him. To them, gang leader was sick in the head. Could he blame them for stealing things? Your concubine stole it. She let you have fun, and then she stole your things. That was your responsibility. How could you blame them? After all, your concubine didn't let them have fun. They were all innocent. Giant Boat Hall. Gang leader. Head Su definitely got the treasure and took it for himself. Right, there's a high possibility. The people who didn't like Head Su started to say bad things about him. He didn't return after so many days. He definitely fled. As for being killed, that wasn't realistic. They didn't like Head Su, but they had to admit that this fellow was really strong. He had many tricks up his sleeves, so how could he die? The choice between the treasure and the gang. If they could, maybe they would choose the treasure. That was a chance for them to rise up. Su-Ying leaned against the pillar, her arms crossed. She hid in the shadows, not bothering about what these people said at all. It was impossible for him to leave 9-Bug gang because of the treasure. He understood that person. He didn't have the courage. There was only one possibility. He was dead. 9-Bug gang leader was fat. Sitting there, he was like a meatball. In his arms laid a devilish girl. She was really thin and weak. Lying in his arms was like lying in a pile of meat. How disgusting. But the girl showed an expression of enjoyment. Another shallow girl who was immersed in power and wealth. What a waste. The people gathered here were all 9-Bug gang higher-ups. They were the hall heads of the various halls. They would look at the girl in his arms. She wore so little and was really tempting. He could be coquettish, but they couldn't stare at her all the time. If the gang leader found out that they were looking at the concubine in his arms, they might lose their lives. All of you shut up. 9-Bug gang leader raged. His voice rumbled like a drum. Everyone shut their mouths, and the cabin was very quiet. No one dared to speak. Head Su didn't come back, so all of you say that he stole the treasure and betrayed us. Remember, Whoever dares to say bad things about our brother behind his back, don't blame me for being impolite. Gang leader looked at everyone and said fiercely, "Yes, gang leader, we didn't mean that either." They were all very afraid of the gang leader. Although the gang leader was as fat as a ball, that was all an illusion. The gang leader's true strength was very terrifying. If he really got angry, they wouldn't even know how they died. The chief said solemnly, "Su Ying." Su Ying walked out from the darkness. Her perfectly straight legs made the other hall masters stare blankly. She was truly a woman filled with temptation. He really wanted to press this woman to the ground and rub her. Of course, these were just wishful thinking. How would they dare to have such thoughts? This woman was really terrifying, and they hadn't lived long enough. Gang leader. Su Ying stood there. She knew why the gang leader called her out. 9 Bug Gang's gang leader's eyes were filled with greed. Only a guy like him was worthy of such a woman. Although he was the gang leader, he didn't dare to force himself on her. Su Ying was the hall head of 9 Bug Gang, but she was also the little miss of the Su family. That's Su family in Zwa City. Go take a look at the situation. If head Su really dies, take revenge for him and get the treasure back. Gang leader said. I know, Su Ying replied. She knew that this was the mission. Of course. One had to say, she was also very curious in her heart. Just who had the ability to kill Hall Master Su. It was really curious. After which, Su Ying left. She didn't stay here. She didn't like the smell here. It was the stench of a man. Everyone was looking at Su Ying. They were looking at her openly. They all had a thought in their hearts, which was that Su Ying was badly injured and unconscious. They were beside her when that happened. Hee. All of them knew. I'll get you one day. 9 Bug Gang leader swore that no woman he liked could escape from his hands. Since Zhang Tianxian gave the silver to the person who convinced him, he was filled with anticipation and also nervous. Brother, I'm a bold person, but you can't be someone who came to Marshall Path Mountain and cheat. Ji Xiaojun was a person with principles. He really wasn't a liar. He took the silver from a deputy sect leader, so he had to do things. He started to promote Marshall Path Mountain's glorious deeds in the neighboring cities. Don't talk about whether or not it happened. If you wanted to be serious, then you really were a contrarian. Zhang Tianxian told him that Marshall Path Mountain didn't want to take in disciples, but they wanted to spread their name. So, to Ji Xiaojun, it was easy to do. Did he know how to brag? No. Then what was he doing? This industry wasn't suitable for him. If he didn't know how to brag, then he wouldn't be able to eat no matter where he went. Ji Xiaojun knew how to brag, and he made up many stories. The Marshall Path Mountain sect leader saved the people single-handedly, killing so many bandits that they were terrified. The loyal sect leader Lin. The knowledgeable deputy sect leader Zhang. These stories were edited by Ji Xiaojun, and it instantly became real. He spent some money, not even a single silver. He let some storytellers tell the stories to the customers in the tea house. Out of 50 taels of silver, he had earned 30 taels of silver. This was a business that was guaranteed to be profitable. The effects were not bad. It spread really quickly, and many people believed that Marshall Path Mountain was a really strong sect, especially that silver spear riding horse sect leader Lin, who led the people to kill a path of blood. He was really heroic. Marshall Path Mountain, foot of the mountain. This is Marshall Path Mountain? Those storytellers really boasted about this Marshall Path Mountain. 3 men rode horses over. They were the founders of Wandering Dragon Sect. Even though they looked big and burly, they were all meticulous people. Just from hearing the name of the sect, if one closed their eyes, would one think that the Wandering Dragon sect leader was a handsome male who looked really scholarly? One would definitely think that way. The sect's name was given by a fortune teller that they spent a few silver to come up with. He said that it was a good name. In the future, the sect would definitely prosper. Sect leader, I don't believe what those storytellers said. They have never heard of Marshall Path Mountain. Who knows where they came from? They actually snatched our disciples. A short, round-faced male said angrily. He was an elder of Wandering Dragon Sect and grew up with the sect leader. They were recruiting disciples, but who knew that when the name of Marshall Path Mountain spread out, many of their hearts wavered. They actually didn't want to join their wandering dragon sect. They wanted to wait for Marshall Path Mountain to recruit disciples before heading over. How could they accept such a situation? Snatching one's disciple was like killing one's parents. They couldn't take it and directly charged towards Marshall Path Mountain. They wanted to negotiate with Marshall Path Mountain. If some mid-tier and above sects saw such scenes, they would laugh to death. The so-called little sect actually wanted to negotiate for the sake of competing for disciples. It was really laughable. Those large sects didn't recruit just because they wanted to. They had to go through a strict selection, and if they didn't meet the requirements, they could only scram. Even if they met the requirements, they would become service disciples. Moreover, they had to complete their monthly missions. If they couldn't, then they would have to pack up and leave. On the mountain, young master, someone is causing trouble. Go Z ran over to report. Lin Fan found it weird. Did they see that he was too free recently, so they purposely caused trouble? Causing trouble? He didn't step out of his door and didn't offend anyone. So why would someone come knocking on his door? Let's go take a look. Lin Fan was helpless. Anything could come. He wanted to see who had such balls. A while ago, he killed people from 9 Bug Gang. Moreover, they died in such a tragic manner. Didn't they know what was going on? Mountain entrance. The 3 men were making a big fuss. Where is the Marshall Path Mountain sect leader? Come out. Wandering Dragon sect leader hollered in rage. He wore very little clothes, and his chest was bare. His chest hair gave one a feeling like he was a valiant man. Zhou Zhongmao wanted to toss the 3 of them out, but Zhang Tianshan stopped him. After Marshall Path Mountain opened, they couldn't be rash. Fighting couldn't happen as it would damage the sect's image. What is going on? Lin Fan walked over and asked. He looked at the 3 foreign males in front of him. Don't be rash. This is our Marshall Path Mountain sect leader. Zhang Tianshan said. You are the Silver Spear riding sect leader Lin. The sect leader who led the people to kill a path of blood? You look really young. You must be lying. Wandering Dragon sect leader said. Lin Fan was stunned. What was he talking about? Silver Spear riding sect leader Lin? When did he have such a nickname? The Wandering Dragon sect leader didn't care about how weird Lin Fan's expression was. He stepped forwards and said, Listen up. I am Wandering Dragon sect leader Wang Yushu. The male's chest was bare, and his chest hair was thick. He raised his head and looked right at Lin Fan. I am Wandering Dragon deputy sect leader Wang Linfeng. This burly man didn't give in at all. He still had his chest exposed. Although he didn't have any chest hair, the cross-shaped scar on his chest was extremely hideous. It was so exposed that anyone who saw this scar would know that he wasn't someone to be trifled with. I am Wandering Dragon sect elder Wang Xiaosa. This male was slightly weaker. He was a little short and had a round face. Compared to the other 2, there was a huge gap. Lin Fan shook his head. Oh, damn. Where did these fellows come from? The names were not bad, but they could be sect leaders and elders just like that. The requirements to enter the sect were just too low. The 3 of them were surnamed Wang, but this name was given to them by a fortune teller when the sect was named. Lin Fan sighed. What do you want? Kiki, what? Do I have to ask you? Your Marshall Path Mountain is spreading fake news and snatching my Wandering Dragon sect disciples. You actually have the face to ask us why we are here. Don't you know what you are doing? Wang Yushu hollered in rage. Zhang Tianshan thought about it. Did that fellow really start to spread news? There were no sects within 100 miles, so this Wandering Dragon sect was definitely 100 miles away. Amazing. As expected from a professional. Just how long had passed, and people 100 miles away knew about Marshall Path Mountain's existence. This money was worth it. P.S. I am sorry, the updates aren't stable. The main thing is that I am going to be the best man tomorrow. Although I am married, I'm going to be the best man tomorrow. I'm going to wake up at 6 in the morning. I am working hard now, and everything will be calm tomorrow. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.